Hemant, I was expecting you to talk about some gibberish, and then I was about to say that let's pivot to hello, hello, hello. But no, is anyone in the mood for talking about gibberish? Or have we
Uh,
exhausted those possibilities in our
I
previous two Mission
That
Impossible
is that is
episodes?
Varun and Amartya's job. That is,
yeah,
don't give it to
usually,
anyone.
Chris,
yes, yeah, we
Chris
have
has
been
done
civil.
God's work essentially of editing them, which basically means he's listened to them about three times each. Which I mean, what can I say? Anyways, this is our attempt at the most civilized discussion which we can have on Mission Impossible. And the primary focus of this episode will be on 7 and 8, which is unfortunately titled, one of them is titled Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1. And there is no Part 2 though. The second one is titled Mission Impossible The Final Reckoning. So we'll just refer to them as Dead Reckoning and Final Reckoning, just to keep it simpler. I
Hmm.
don't know why the Part 1 is there, and it's not there
I know
everywhere.
part one is retitled actually.
Retitled, okay. Yeah.
Retitled. They retitled. Their part one was removed
Removed,
after
yeah. So I
2020.
was looking at and I was like, it's not on the poster anymore, so maybe it's that. But anyways, hello, hello, hello. The first voice you heard here should be indication enough that this episode might be a little more civilized, which is Adityan's. Adityan is coming after a while. I think last time, Adityan, you came for the best of episode, correct me? Best of Indian films,
Exactly. Yeah.
which was with Devi and Amartya also, in which I distinctly remember having to say, like, I had nothing to say, and then you guys had like a lot of great things to say. So please listen to that episode if you want to. We have done more episodes with Adityan before. All of them have been very, very good. Joining me are one of the insane people, but you can speak. You can speak.
So, wait, I can also stroke my cat as I say hello, hi, Hemant.
Yes, I'm sure I'm going to like subtitle you or Varun as like Mr. Orlok or someone from Nosferatu, because I will forever remember that episode for all the wrong
Oh
reasons.
man. Oh,
Anyways,
yes. I'm
and
I'm the Earth
another,
I'm the Earthzog one.
I like the Herzog one though, so you're not. I'm kidding.
No, he's more sinister actually.
And, I'm kidding. But yeah, we have Hemant returning for this episode, and we have Chris, who's taken on the mantle of essentially being, suffering. You're suffering for the art. I don't know if we can call the work we do art, but sure, let's call it
No,
that.
I am suffering because I think Tom Cruise is hot. Like
Actually, yeah,
that
you
is all.
like masochism, so yeah, I was like, yeah, I literally
And Tom
sent
Cruise is
him an
hot. That
email
is the more
yesterday.
important
Okay.
point.
Just give me a second.
Yeah.
Thanks. Okay.
Yeah.
You ready?
I'm ready.
I think Chris has established that in the past two
And I will
episodes also.
continue to like that.
Yeah.
That is my sole role of being
Sure.
here, of course.
So, but before we can sort of speak about 7 and 8, if anyone's listened to the past episodes, we've discussed me, Chris, Varun, and Amartya, and Hemant to some extent have discussed 1, 2, and 3 in totality in many ways. Like we've talked about what our views are on it. And 4, 5, 6, except for Hemant, everyone did speak about. So, what I wanted to start off this episode with is because Adityan is joining us for the first time for this Mission Impossible themed 3 episodes we Varun had organized and has decided to nicely ditch us for the last one for good, I would say. But anyways, I want to start with Adityan just because I know Adityan's a huge fan of the series, and Adityan, you did a collaboration with a bunch of people or Instagrammers
Yes.
on Mission Impossible, releasing posts about all the films in the franchise, right?
Yeah.
Leading up to the release of the
The
Final
final
Reckoning.
thing.
Yeah. So Adityan, you can talk to us about why you love this franchise so much. What
Mm.
like again, you can talk to us about the favorites, but yeah, you can focus more firstly on the 1 to 6 and what you think of them.
Mm.
Why are
All
they
right.
so special for you?
All
And
right. All
Hemant,
right.
please,
So,
sorry, and Hemant, please pitch in for 4 to 6, because I know
Right.
you have very controversial thoughts on one of them. So
Well,
Yeah.
strong
Okay.
feelings mostly.
yes, yes.
Okay,
Anyway,
so
Aditya,
my
yeah.
my introduction to this MI series was at my age, at my 8 or 9, I think so. When
Hmm.
there was this, 4-in-1 DVD collection in my home was there.
Yeah.
MI 1, 2, 3, and Top Gun was there in it. So
Hmm.
that's how I actually watched MI 3 only the first. The image I remember was Tom Cruise wearing his, a black ops suit and with his SMG, to throw, with the student, I think so. She's been abducted.
Yeah.
He goes to rescue, right? So
Yeah,
that
yeah.
Yeah.
image is pretty much it's stuck in my mind from then till now. So that's how Mission Impossible came into my life actually. So that's
Hmm.
how, like, wow. So what am I watching? This is so cool, awesome. So that's how Mission Impossible came into my life. And
Hmm.
after that, those themes, the Mission Impossible theme is recurring in a lot of, in a lot of Tamil films. They reuse it a lot.
Hmm.
Once when I watched, this film called who were one of an Arvind Sami film actually. In that,
Hmm.
he goes into a heist actually. So that the Langley heist scene actually comes at the rip off of the scene with Arvind
Okay.
Sami.
Hmm.
So basically, what they do is they use a shaving foam to, cover the CCTV. When I was watching it, my Appa was saying, my father was saying,
Hmm.
this is similar to, this is a copy of the Mission Impossible scene. He said. So then only I watched Mission Impossible 1 and Mission Impossible 2 at that time. So
Hmm.
Mission Impossible 1 was like pretty. Mission Impossible 1 was wow. I was stunned to see what's wow. This is so awesome, and
Hmm.
that's how the fascination towards the series was like. And growing up, I watched a lot of Tom Cruise movies, to be honest, like Valkyrie and Night and Day, and another movie, War of the Worlds, mostly War of the Worlds, because I still
Yeah.
have the DVD around here.
The
So War of the
Spielberg,
Great
Worlds.
movie.
right?
Great.
With
Yes, yeah,
Yeah.
Spielberg, War of the Worlds. I still have the DVD around here.
Mhm.
So that's how Tom Cruise has been pretty much a household name in my home. It's in my home. It's pretty much
I think
everyone in my
Chris
family
feels
loves.
seen for the first time in this podcast.
Yeah.
Every
Yeah.
everyone in
I
my
think she's
family
going to be
loves.
asking.
Everyone in my
They're going to be
family loves.
asking, like, can I please be adopted? And he's going to.
Everyone in my family loves Tom Cruise so much, their
Hmm.
movies. So that's how any Tom Cruise movies comes, we always prefer to go to the theaters.
My God,
At
that
that
means you
time,
went and saw The Mummy also when it came out.
Yeah.
The
no,
Mummy.
yeah, I didn't actually. I didn't at that time. There was another Tamil movie came, so I didn't watch
Okay.
that. But after that, I watched it,
Priorities.
Fortunate.
which
Yeah.
was which was abysmal to say the least. Where the
Which one?
it's Mummy 2017,
Oh, it was
abysmal,
garbage. It was so bad.
abysmal,
Yeah.
abysmal. So yeah, so that's how. Especially my mom loves Tom Cruise so much. Like the
Hmm.
Top Gun time.
Yeah.
Though that one was a huge phenomenon in the 80s.
Hmm.
So that was like, my Peripa still has, he only actually, made me watch Top Gun. My uncle actually made me watch Top Gun because he was also an Air Force officer. So he has this, the same jacket, the same
Hmm.
aviator. So that's how I found out, oh wait, this aviator all came into popularity because of Top Gun. So I watched Top Gun at that time during my high school time. Oh,
Hmm.
then when I was in seventh standard, the 2011 Mission Impossible Ghost Protocol was promoted a lot with his
Hmm.
teaser, with his first that look, the Burj Khalifa first look. That was like, what Tom Cruise is really scaling the
Hmm.
Burj Khalifa. That was the first. It's like, whoa, it's returning after a long time. So that's
Yeah.
how the promotions came, and in India it was like centered around the Anil Kapoor things. I thought,
Yeah.
okay, oh wow, so they are
I
going
think
to bring an
this is
Indian
because
actor.
post Slumdog, right? Very
Yes,
close
post
to
Slumdog, yeah,
Slumdog,
Yes.
post
right?
Slumdog, who thought, okay, it's going to be like he's going to be a prominent role. Then you know what happened in the rest of the movie is like 5 minutes, 5 minutes,
Yeah.
fatapat.
Well,
So
in that Anil Kapoor is acting as just like a middleman, and he's kind
yeah,
of
yeah,
like seedy, like
yeah, yeah.
he's super seedy.
Oh, he's a
Not a good
clown.
look on him. He
No,
is a
he's a
clown.
clown, which is
Yeah, he
funny.
is.
I
Yeah,
think that is
Mm,
yeah.
the charm of his
mm,
performance also.
yeah,
I
yeah.
don't know if he
So
knew
that's
if
how.
he was being a
I,
buffoon,
I
but
too.
I,
Yeah.
yeah.
So
Anyway.
that's a Mission Impossible Ghost Protocol I saw in theater at that time, Tamil
Sure.
dubbing only, because that
Hmm.
at that time there used to be not original
Hmm.
language doesn't come in
Hmm.
our city. So Tamil dubbing I watched, which was like
Hmm.
I that was stunning in its without the IMAX in itself. I was
Hmm.
stunned to watch the whole the film.
Yeah.
At that time, everyone in our school we like talking about the Burj Khalifa sequence a lot. Like
Yeah.
we will be like, wow, how could I do this, done this? We will be discussing a lot about this. And after that, Rogue Nation came, I think. So then there was a gap, a four
Hmm.
years gap, and then Rogue Nation came. Rogue Nation, we didn't expect Rogue Nation to come actually because it wasn't promoted that
Hmm.
that level of curiosity with how they did with Ghost Protocol. So that the Rogue Nation was like suddenly dropped out of nowhere for me.
Hmm.
Oh, Tom Cruise movie, Mission Impossible. Oh. When I was going to my bike with oh, Tom
Hmm.
Cruise movie, Mission Impossible. Okay, Appa, we are going to see this. We are going to see this. Let's go. So
Hmm.
we saw that. That one also was fantastic. That one was fantastic in all its glory. I mean, every Mission Impossible has this, a big set piece, all lined with, set action first, narrative
Hmm.
later. So what in Mission Impossible 5 did was it started with the most bombastic sequence and ended with something
Okay.
minimal,
Hmm.
that's going from big to small, which is
Hmm.
something that's unconventional. I mean, every Mission Impossible is unconventional in its own way.
Hmm.
So you can't really say that
Yeah.
it's too unconventional, but still it was something too inventive of a technique, I would say,
Hmm.
with this narrative.
Yeah.
So Rogue Nation, I still have the Blu-ray, I think so, the original Blu-ray,
Hmm.
I think so.
Hemant,
I
sorry,
You have the
so,
behind the scenes. Can they tell me how? Can they tell me why? Also, why did they decide to do it that way? Actually, when
so
you were
you
talking
have a
about the
problem with
big.
it sort of peaking and then falling off. Is it that?
Yes, yeah, a
Okay.
huge problem with it. Actually,
Okay.
it's they kind of spent themselves very thin,
So where do you
very
think it
quickly
peaks?
in the beginning, the first 10 minutes, and
Well, you think
and
it
then
peaks there? You don't think the
it
opera
peaks
sequence is better
way
than
too
that?
early. The opera
yes, yes.
sequence is okay, actually. It's not as good as like I rewatched it and I was
Okay.
thinking that this is not the way they're trying to the stakes that they're trying to put together,
Hmm.
and like the allure or like the mystery that they're trying to like
Hmm.
unfold, that kind of gets subdued by the fact that they're trying to put it in an opera. The whole scene
Okay.
like that it's happening in
Interesting.
an opera was not used well. At least I
Okay.
felt that.
I've
And
not
yeah, it
watched
was
it
kind of
recently,
even
but
also
I
I have a
know.
problem
Yeah.
with music in general. Is just that like the way that they use the music is not really love the way they used it in Fallout, because you know that sequence where is the imaginary saving sequence, or like the exchange sequence with Lane, and then he has the real
The
version coming in.
destruction. It's like the sad, somber piece or what? Like where it sort of becomes a little.
Yeah, the somber
Yeah.
piece where it's like
Uh
black
Yeah,
huh.
and
yeah.
white, and then they
Uh
have the
huh.
color version,
Yes.
or
Yes.
you don't know whether the color version happened or the black and white
Yeah.
version
Yeah.
happened, but because the build-up of the music is like propelling both of them in the same direction. So that's what I felt was a good use of music in a
Yeah. Okay.
set piece that doesn't require music. But if opera you actually have music that's going to be a
Hmm.
centerpiece, you might as well use it. Like I
Hmm.
felt like that whole like, oh, you have three shooters all at the same time, and now you have to figure out what priority are you going to set first.
Hmm.
That part, huge problem with how they dealt with the idea of Rebecca Ferguson as well.
In
She was
Rogue
kind of
Nation.
cartoonified, yeah, in Rogue Nation. Oh my god,
Oh,
her entry
then
itself.
she's done like she's absolutely misused in the other two. Then even more, I would say.
I mean,
Than
I would say in Fallout she was used very well, I feel.
really okay. I would
Yeah,
say
because
Rogue
she
Nation
becomes
is the
part
one
of
that
the
uses
team.
a lot.
Like in that, she's like an outsider to the team, and they're
Yeah,
showing
like
the
but there
British way
is.
of doing things.
I think
No,
that's
but like
the
she just
and
like shows up in Fallout, right? Like the
Yeah, exactly.
there.
character
Or
she
no,
has
in
is only in
No.
Rogue
I
Nation.
actually I just rewatched. We'll talk about this later, but Dead Reckoning. You
Hmm.
know,
Yeah.
I think for me at least, I know here, but
Mm,
this is probably on a different fence with regards to this, but
mm,
I think I find the female characters or the central female characters much more interesting when they are sort of at the edge or like on the boundary of being sort of femme fatales almost. Like they're not
Hmm.
like allies to
Hmm.
Ethan, which is why I find Haley Atwell and Tom Cruise's sequence at the airport really charming and really
Yeah,
sexy.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
yeah,
which I
That
think is the Rebecca Ferguson and Tom Cruise dynamic a lot in Rogue Nation, and
Rogue
it's set in
Nation. Yeah,
Casablanca, and she's Ilsa,
yes,
which
yeah,
is the other thing. Which
yeah.
I'm a
I
sucker
mean,
for
yeah,
those sorts of things also.
that was a
But
nice reference. I think that was the best sequence I felt of
the
that
motorbike,
movie. But
is that the
the
motorbike
motorbike
thing?
sequence,
Sure.
yeah,
yeah.
in Casablanca, I felt like
Mm,
that had that propulsive like momentum
Hmm.
that was missing in the rest of the movie.
sure.
Also, I didn't
I
do not believe that like she also the whole thing of that her like being embedded inside of Lane's team and her
Mm,
wearing back trust and everything like that felt just not satisfying enough, and it
okay.
just felt like part of the story. I think everything about her and about her being part of the story felt like it was supposed to be she is the other side of of Ethan Hunt's
Yeah.
coin. And that's like I thought that's great. Okay, you need to
Mm,
have some instead of having some other like have a skyfall happening. Instead you have you have someone who's going to be eventually part of your team. That's
mm,
how like the whole MI thing is, that like eventually, oh, you hate him but then you'll of course love him in the end. Like
mm.
they hate each other but now they're best friends, now their
Do they
kids
hate
go to
each
school
other
Yeah.
together.
in Rogue Nation?
Not they don't
Not
trust each
exactly,
other.
I would say.
They don't
Even
trust
in
each
Dead
other. I mean, that's the
Reckoning,
whole
there's no
point.
hate
Yeah.
as such. They feel like they're
No, not
attracted to each
hate
other.
really. It is just mistrust. It's like
Sure.
the whole game
Yeah.
with the spy game is just,
Yeah,
do you trust this person? Is this a person a mole, or they're going to be a liability for
Yeah.
you? And that's the main thing that he's trying to fight. And
Okay.
when you throw a wrench in the works, which is Ilsa,
Hmm.
and who I felt like she came into herself in Fallout and Dead Reckoning. And Dead Reckoning it's like, the experience of watching the Dark Knight trilogy, where you feel like the Batman Begins is one movie, Dark Knight is like another level. And
Hmm.
then you were like, oh, we continue Batman Begins again in the third one.
I mean, they
And
had
that's what
to
felt
because
like with
Joker,
Ilsa.
because Heath Ledger passed away, right? So,
Well,
well,
yes, and also no. I mean, I felt like the tone of the movie is totally different. I feel like the point of each movie was one was I mean, I will not compare like how they
no,
are
no, you
doing
can
it
because I
versus
think the
how Mission
Nolanisms sort
Impossible.
of
no, yes,
are and Nolanisms begin to, I think, show themselves more and more in the like
In
in
Mission
Fallout,
Impossible.
the bad side, for me at least. The bad side of the Nolanism start to show a little bit towards the end of MI,
Fallout,
but not.
Fallout.
Yes.
Yeah, but I don't. But the Nolanisms are a thing because they became a big thing for the James Bond franchise also, because they sort of acquire a tone which is closer to the Nolan seriousness than the sort
Yeah.
of campiness
I
that was there
mean,
before, right? So I think that's.
yeah, like No Time to Die was such a weird movie. Like it felt like such an
Um,
odd way of dealing with the movie.
mm,
In fact,
Mm,
the both that and the creator gave me the same feeling in the end, where it's like, oh, they end up somewhere. Now they have to solve the problem. Now they have to
I
sacrifice
mean,
themselves, and that's the story. Like,
No Time to Die and Mission Impossible 2 are similar, man,
mm.
in
yeah,
terms of the plot and everything.
Is
true,
it
true,
okay?
yeah,
That is
yeah.
true,
It
yeah.
Okay.
is true,
I
yeah, yeah.
mean,
It
no
is
time. I have
Tandy
a
Newton.
controversial opinion on, this Daniel Craig Bond itself. I mean, they are too slick, they are classy, they are pretty much in the psych. They are. I
Mhm,
know Daniel Chris is a Daniel Craig fan, so sorry,
mhm.
but still,
I'm a
uh,
Daniel Craig fan, dude. Love,
No, I'm not
uh,
actually a big Daniel Craig James Bond fan. I'm
Ah,
not a big
you
but
go,
fan of
yeah,
but
him.
you're the Pierce
to be
Brosnan.
honest, I grew up with watching this Ruger Moore,
Mhm,
Sean
Hmm.
Connery, George Lazenby, Bond films. So those Bond films truly had this, the fun and the
Yeah.
more
mhm,
riskier kind of thing.
mhm,
Not like this. Actually, I didn't actually like at that time. When I
mhm,
was a child, I loved Mission Impossible more
mhm.
than James Bond. This Craig Bond actually,
Yeah.
because
Yeah, yeah,
Craig Bonds
Craig
were
Bond
too,
Yeah,
is proper like
too serious,
Nolan
too prop.
seriousness.
Yeah, yeah. Too
yeah.
serious,
I
yeah.
mean, it doesn't. I mean, no, I won't say Nolan because
Mhm,
it doesn't produce. I mean, for me, it
mhm.
didn't produce any awe at that time.
Sure.
I mean, there's nothing awe in it. After a long time, I rewatched every Craig Bond. Only
Mm.
I'm trying to appreciate a lot, but still, I love
Okay. Yeah.
Ruger Moore Bond films a lot.
Yeah.
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 Because
True.
my dad is a Ruger Moore fan,
Yeah.
so yeah, he has this huge DVD collection set of
Yeah.
this Bond.
Very similar to Sanjeev, who also is he's more of a Timothy Dalton
Yeah,
Sure.
slash.
Timothy Dalton.
He's
Yeah,
So
done
in that
only
sense,
one,
I have.
right?
he
I just
likes
remember him from Hot
Sanjeev loves him.
Fuzz because he's amazing in Hot Fuzz.
Oh man, I
So,
do.
No, but
His picture in the back with him smiling is still like burnt in my memory.
yeah.
Yeah,
no, but
and
I
I
have
mean,
the worst take on Bond because I'm the Pierce Brosnan
You're the
fan
Pierce
because I like
Brosnan
campy
guy.
films.
You like At World's End, then sorry, The World's End. You like,
uh,
I mean, it's this but Ruger Bond as this campiness, the risk
Hmm.
factor is a lot
yeah.
there. Actually, this Mission Impossible after Fallout, Rogue Nation, the Macquarie, and
Yes. Tom
all
Cruise.
had this
Hmm.
David kept,
Ruger
yeah.
Bond era. Reminiscence a lot. For
Mhm.
example, Fallout is your the Ghost Protocol is your Octopussy, and this Dead Reckoning is up. Dead Reckoning and Final Reckoning both are Spy Who Loved Me, obviously. Because Spy Who
Yeah,
Loved Me. Because
that
Spy Who Loved Me
good
is,
comparison.
in
Hmm.
comparison, Spy Who Loved Me is similar to the plot and everything, except
Hmm.
for the AI thing. Similar, the plot is similar.
Yeah.
And riskier too. The stunts were too riskier and real.
Mhm.
At
Yeah.
that time itself, I mean, at the 70s
Sure.
itself. So
Sure.
that's how the
Yeah, I think.
campiness also is there. Final Reckoning and Dead Reckoning both had those campiness to the fullest, I would say.
Sure.
I would say a
Okay,
lot.
so I think it's interesting because I think whenever we talk about like these franchises and like different installments of these franchises, I mean I luckily, for coincidence or not, I don't know, I follow a bunch of people on Letterboxd, and I always, for most movies, end up getting a proper bell curve sort of thing where I know people who basically hate everything I watch
Yeah.
and like,
Hmm.
and I have people who like love everything I hate. So it's one of
Mm.
those things where I'm like, you just view cinema in a way where I'm just like, I don't get it. Like I was
Yeah.
scanning through some of the Final Reckoning reviews, and I was like, and they were like, someone had written, I don't get how people walked out of this film in the first half. I'm like, really? Like, to me,
I
I
Yeah.
was
had a
like,
flight, yeah, I had to go.
okay, not you. No, but no, but the interesting thing is, I think when you sort of get exposed to different points of view in this sort of sphere, is that every um, person actually has a different conception of what type of film they want from this type of
Hmm.
entertaining, like big blockbuster film. Like for a lot
Yeah.
of people, they find the issues which they'll have with a Dead Reckoning or even Fallout, even they'll be like,
Hmm.
and with Christopher McQuarrie era minus Rogue Nation, because Rebecca Ferguson is sort of very
Hmm.
central in that, is that they're sexless, that they are
Hmm.
really they don't have an eroticism to them, which sort of is
Hmm.
crucial, which sort of defines their idea of entertainment in films, which
Yeah.
like Bond was a version of Bond, was
Hmm.
very sexy, almost sexist. I think that sort of
Hmm.
Yeah,
goes
yeah.
along with all
Almost,
that, right?
yes,
So,
definitely.
Actually, Bond's counterpoint is Ethan Hunt. I mean,
hmm,
antithesis. He doesn't drink or smoke or he
easier to
doesn't
get
like
behind.
he isn't
Yeah.
like womanizer. So he's safe and
Hmm.
easy to. I mean, it's pretty much image building move from the U.S.
Hmm.
government machineries.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So
And I
so
think
that
They
it's
do, yeah, they do thank them in the end of the credits
yeah
for a lot of
so
those movies.
yeah man
and I
It
think
happened.
it's
I remember it happening in Fallout, especially because of all the like very famous
I mean the
like
post.
aircrafts that they were using.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually, the whole Mission Impossible, the first Mission Impossible in itself is a post-Cold War terrain. It
Hmm.
represents the post-Cold War terrain.
guys,
So,
can we pause for 1 second? Sorry.
ये क्या हो रहा है यहाँ पर
So this is जो मैंने कहा है, counter to that when I said on the chat that WhatsApp chat that no people should be joining after or in between, because last time this happened, Varun lost his
Yeah.
marbles. Hemant, please don't lose your marbles. I beg and plead you.
That's okay.
And anyways, no, but Aryan is here, who's been wanting to join for the MI episodes also. I know he's a huge MI fan. I don't know. Should I say huge Tom Cruise fan or should I say huge MI fan?
Huge MI fan. More of
Huge
a MI
MI
fan
fan.
than yeah.
Okay,
I
so
don't think you can separate the two at this point, though.
we'll see.
Soon. I
Yeah,
don't know,
yeah,
Tropic Thunder
Also,
2. That'll change
you've
my
been
mind.
told.
yeah. But anyways, so Aryan, you can join in the discussion. I know we can probably primarily talk about 7 and 8 also later. I'll make sure to edit it in a way where you join in seamlessly, of course. But where were we?
Post Cold War.
Post
Yeah, you were talking about MI1
yeah.
as a post-Cold War.
Well,
post
actually,
Cold.
MI1
Yeah.
is a post-Cold War. It
Sure.
represents the post-Cold War terrain a lot. The Jim Phelps character is like, he's ideal, he's rusty, he's, the old school ways. And Ethan Hunt is like, the modernist, modernist principles he represents. So there's actually, after the post-Cold War, the whole people start, after the post-Cold War, everyone, people were, unreliable towards the unaccountable actions of the government of their respective countries, especially the superpowers involved, American bloc, Russian bloc. So that's how the whole it actually has this, the skepticism a lot. The whole MI1 in itself has this skepticism a lot. So
Yeah.
that's the post-Cold War terrain represents. MI2 is all about, after the post-Cold War is, represents like, the holiday phase of the history, they say. So if MI2 represents the
Dhoom
holiday
Machale,
phase of
right?
the
Essentially.
too much
Yes.
so that's the holiday phase of the history. So
Yeah.
after, and also at the time SARS-CoV was also
I
spreading.
think,
So
yeah, that was more of like a globalization, the effects
Hmm.
of globalization.
yeah,
That was
globalization a
the
lot. Yeah.
yeah, for
Yeah.
MI2 and MI3.
MI3 is similar to
Yeah.
that. And
Yeah.
MI4 actually made a shift.
Yeah.
That was shift in it after the Iran strike, as Iran war and
Mhm.
everything.
Nuclear deal.
The
Yeah.
nuclear
Yeah.
dealing and the ISIS
Mhm.
rise of the ISIS and everything. So there you
Right.
can see in 4, 5, 6, there's this 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, the post 2010s, 2020s. There is a trend of a conspiracy.
Paranoia.
Conspiracy paranoia
It's
being the
espionage.
Yeah.
being
Hmm.
the central element of espionage there. So
Yeah.
that's why in five you can see this a lot. In five,
Non-state actors and all that.
the syndicate and
Yeah,
everything
yeah.
is kind of like a representation. It represents a metaphor for ISIS.
Yeah.
So
Rogue nation states. Yeah.
rogue nation.
Yeah.
So rogue nation is the
Yeah.
obviously the name, and
Yeah.
Fallout is pretty much the Fallout is the that's why Fallout Stone is pretty there is a bleakness to it.
Yeah.
That's a noirish kind of a tone to it. So that's how serious it deals with the conspiracies within the these extremists.
Yeah, but so
Right.
Adityan, I know you've said all this, but what I want to also mention is, and because part of my complaint with 7 and 8 will be the seriousness to some extent. The reason I've loved 4, 5, 6 is because what Adityan is saying is there, but it's not I think totally overshadowing everything in these films. Like to me, when I go to them, I talked about it yesterday also. For me, they are, as Adityan also said, action first, narrative second. To me,
Yeah.
it would be that either you can go for me the relentlessness of Fallout, where it's like set piece, set piece, set piece, set
Yes.
piece, set piece, minor, it'll just have minor bits of plot in the middle sprinkled through almost.
Yes.
It's that. Or it's Ghost Protocol car from this is my major memory. It's like Ghost Protocol is almost because it's Brad Bird also
Yeah.
almost Looney Tune-ish sort of
Yeah.
animated energy to it, where it's like
Yeah.
you get it's very charming and it's very it's easiest to watch, I think, out of a lot of these
I think Ghost
films.
Protocol was the most like it is like the pinnacle
Animated.
of that tone. No, well, I would say like it more of like a as an overall movie where every characters or they're having like the plot is not really driving much. It's mostly
Because the
like
villain is
how
totally
well
anonymous in that film. Like
Yeah.
there's
exactly
barely
there is
he's
no
got
villain.
nothing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there is no
Yeah.
villain. I would
Yeah.
say
There's
like
no
because
exact villain.
yeah, I mean 3 is more of like that. 3 is basically one again,
Yeah.
Okay.
and
I know people really
and
don't like 3 here, so please, you can, whoever doesn't
Yeah.
like it can talk about it. But
who
my
who
mem
is okay?
I
I don't know.
cannot stand 3 for the life of me.
my memory of 3 is Philip Seymour Hoffman. It lives and dies by that. So
Yes, it
I
does.
sort of have
Yes,
that.
yes,
So
it does.
Hoffman
Yeah,
is a menace
yeah.
yeah,
even.
I think he's the best
I would.
villain. But you guys really like.
Yeah.
I know Chris and
No, no,
Varun talked
Solomon
about
Lane is
really
the
liking
best
Solomon
villain.
Lane.
Yeah.
So
Solomon Lane is my
yeah,
favorite too.
yeah.
Yeah.
He's my favorite villain
No,
in the
no. I
franchise.
I mean,
actually
as
like.
Hemant, you
I
don't like
like.
Rogue Nation. So I mean, clearly you don't
So I
like
mean,
Solomon
it's
Lane. So
well, Solomon Lane has no point. He shows up out of nowhere. Okay, he has no
Hmm.
dread to him. There is no.
why
His
you don't find that
personality is
raspy
based on.
voice scary?
I mean any voice can be scary as long as
Okay.
what you're saying is scary. You can have like I mean I'm okay with having like weird villains or
Yeah.
like I don't mind having Jared Harris as a villain. Like David Thewlis as a villain works.
David Thewlis
The
is terrifying as a villain. I mean, we like David Thewlis is terrifying in general. I think in most
y-
movies.
I- yeah,
Uh,
well, come on, like eat chocolate. Come on, you'll feel better. That's
uh,
the most warmest character I've
okay,
known
so
in
my
all.
when you say David Thewlis, my mind goes to Daycare. That my mind goes to Fargo, in which he is essentially playing
Yes, Fargo. Yes. Oh my
when
God.
he's
Yeah.
playing Javier Bardem ka what's it called? The
Anton
bad
Chigurh.
haircut Javier Bardem. What is he
Anton
called?
Chigurh.
Yes,
Anton
Anton. He's
Chigurh.
essentially playing
Yeah.
that in that, and I was
Yes.
like,
Yeah.
he's horrifying, terrifying person.
Yeah. I mean, if you have the empty eyes, like both of them, Elaine and Tom Cruise, both of them have empty eyes, which is great for them. But the issue is that the way you're using that
Hmm.
those empty eyes, it matters a
Sure.
lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like because for Tom
My
Cruise, it's like
memory of
reaction
three,
shots.
yeah, my memory of three is just, and I know that Philip Seymour Hoffman's villain is barely characterized. Like he has a very
Yeah.
minimal part.
Yeah.
I
I just
rewatched it.
remember the
Dude,
actor's
I
intensity. It's
Yeah.
that whenever he came
yeah,
on screen, I was like, okay, I am like
afraid.
worried.
Yeah.
Afraid.
Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but
he's
Yeah.
got
that
that
doesn't
intensity.
carry the film. I mean,
I'm not
not for
talking
at
about the
least for
film
me.
though. Yeah.
No, no, I'm
No, I'm
saying
talking about the
no.
villain.
Yeah, like I agree that Philip Seymour Hoffman's performance is incredible, but like it doesn't end there. No, that's the
No,
problem.
I
That
agree.
unfortunately
I'm not,
it doesn't.
I don't remember
Three
anything
doesn't.
else about Rabbit's
Three
Foot.
doesn't work for me fundamentally because it's too nondescript. Like
Hmm.
literally too nondescript from Philip Seymour
Yeah.
Hoffman to the plot to the filmmaking. Like nothing has any sort of specificity to it. I'm like at least with
Why
Solomon
you don't
Lane
get
there is.
lens flares? J.J. Abrams
I
You
specificity.
mean
don't get
Amartya has
no.
given enough
Yo,
gali.
there is
I
another.
don't.
Okay, there is an Abramism that's not talked about enough.
Okay.
It's actually it's not just an Abramism. It happens with a lot of people
Yeah.
who work in CG and real environments a lot.
Yeah.
The zoom, the
Yeah.
when you're looking at with a long
Dolly
lens
in or
already.
zoom.
No, not even a
No,
Okay.
proper,
not done.
just like office like
Just a
zoom
close up.
into a
Oh,
CGI
like a
into a
snap
CGI.
zoom or whatever.
No,
Yeah.
it's like a long lens. You're looking away
Okay.
at a far thing which is looking small, and just to get a little more detail, you zoom in a little bit just to
Zoom
show
in.
that, and it's moving. It's always
Oh,
moving.
it's
It
like
happens in
to
Star
make it
Trek.
Yeah, yeah.
dynamic. Like it's
Star
like
Trek.
this, sort of
No,
like a
in
jerk.
Yeah,
Star
yeah.
Trek, like in Star Trek also, like Into Darkness, where there's like
Yeah.
not Into Darkness, in the first
Oh
one where
God,
they're like
please
the
thank God
red
Amartya is
black
not
hole.
here. He would have gone into a rant session for this. But yes, go
No,
ahead.
okay. No, but in that, like, you have like the huge, like, big, vast spaces there. There's a lot of debris, and then you have a tiny ship that's going
Hmm.
away, and it's good enough as that shot. But you just want to zoom in into that in
But
the
it's
same frame. You want
dynamic.
to,
No, it's like something's
yeah,
happening.
it's to
It's
move
one
it.
of
Yeah,
those things.
to move
Yeah.
it instead of having that sense of like breathing in a sequence.
No
He
one wants
just
to
wants
breathe.
you to keep. Yeah, well, the producers
Like
maybe.
in
Yeah,
movie
they're all
form,
too much
not in
cocaine.
reality, of course. Anyways,
Well, well, okay.
anyways,
I mean,
yeah.
with MI3, I felt like that was the independent movie of the MI series. I felt like there was not a lot. It wasn't supposed to be a blockbuster or something like that. They had
Okay.
3 locations, and they stuck with that. And I felt, and lot of the major action sequences happen at night. So
Yeah.
it is a very nighttime kind of movie, and I
Yeah.
felt okay
The
with that. It felt more like
quote
a neo
unquote
noir,
grittiest. Can I say?
grittiest. Yeah,
Yeah.
I
yeah,
love
yeah. I
They
how
would
it's
found
say
the
back
that.
then.
balance, in fact.
Back when it came
Aryan.
out, everyone was like, this looks like a TV movie, this feels like a TV movie. And now in 2024, 2025, everyone's like, no way, TV movies look like
Look way
much
better,
trashier
yeah.
Yes,
these
yes,
days.
exactly. After the slop, you see a lot.
Well, you
Yeah.
will see it now. Yeah, maybe we already now lived through the
It's a
golden age. Now
saturation
we have,
also, no? Michael Bay level of saturation that film
Yeah,
had, I think.
yeah,
Michael,
yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
ugly. My
actually,
God.
Michael Bay
yeah,
level.
Bay is a Bayhem,
yeah, I mean,
Bayhem.
have you seen his
There was a Bay.
films?
The
Yeah.
Yeah.
Chesapeake Bay.
Huh?
There's Chesapeake Bay sequence in that film, MI3.
In MI3,
Yeah,
I
Yeah,
honestly
yeah.
don't. I only remember him
I
flying off the
rewatched today
cliff.
only. I rewatched today
Oh,
after a very
yeah.
long time. After a very long time.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
After my child.
You rewatched
Amartya,
it to
Amartya was saying,
carefully,
Aryan, I thought you
carefully
went
see.
off somewhere. Sorry, go ahead.
No, 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 no. I just went to get some coffee and now.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you
I have a
rewatched
joke
Adityan,
for MI8 here, which I should
you
refrain from, but
rewatched
yeah.
MI3 especially to see how the rabbit's foot came into existence.
What
Oh,
is the
just to
rabbit's
get.
foot?
All
We'll get to it, I think, when we talk about 8.
Well, yeah, it comes back
yeah. I
later
mean,
for this, right?
I mean, they
Oh,
reverse. There's
Reversing
actually
it.
ambiguity.
Okay.
The rabbit's foot has this in the whole MI3. There is this ambiguity. I mean, they will say what is that
Mystery
actually
box.
Mystery
That's his
box.
at
mystery
that
box.
time Pandora box. At
Yeah.
that time
That's
I
his.
assumed only it's a bioweapon because of the hazard sign. I still remember at that time there's this one I remember a quiz competition in 10th standard. So they featured this Mission Impossible's this rabbit's foot this one and the MI5 the first sequence the
Yeah.
nerve gas all this
Yeah.
and
Derek
said
O'Brien.
the,
What did Derek O'Brien ask you? Sorry.
no, it's not Derek O'Brien actually. It's different. So
Oh,
in
sorry.
that the symbol they asked what's this symbol represent biohazard. So that I remember that time. So I
Okay.
was like, okay, that was a biohazard. It's what I stuck with it. But today when I rewatched it, I was like, okay, there is this ambiguity. So they with in MI7 and MI8 they did was okay. They reverse engineered. Okay, with the using that
Yeah, nice.
ambiguity a lot.
Sub planned tha. Everything was
Are you crazy?
everything
I
is
mean, this is
connected.
this is. I mean,
Everything
this
is
is like the 7 and 8 feels like more like like you took all your homework from all the essays that you did
Yeah.
from pre-finals and everything
Yeah.
and learned and in boards exam you're like, oh, I need to write
Actually-
everything that I've learned so
actually,
to
far.
make some sense of everything that I
Actually,
wrote
Yeah.
and learned
Or
actually-
no, I just feel like,
Make
oh no, you
nonsense
can
out
tell
of it.
everyone. Yeah, you can tell everyone that,
Actually,
oh, you
7
remember
and
that bit. It's all connected.
Yeah.
actually
Adityan, go ahead. What
the
do you say?
2020s
Yeah.
the 2020s era in itself is
Hmm.
is ridden with nostalgia a lot. Every there's a
And
recession
world
going
building,
on.
franchises, with connections. and
Not I mean
everything.
I'm not
Somewhere.
saying
I mean,
the franchise
think-
building. I'm not
Mhm.
I think that's more the 2015 to 2020.
Sure.
I think that
Okay.
was when
I
everything
mean
was
I'm
building.
not saying the
yeah.
franchise building.
Okay.
I'm saying the common mindset of people in itself.
Mhm.
Yeah.
After the 2020 there was pandemic.
Mhm.
So pandemic,
Yeah.
the whole world, the day the earth stood still, kind of a situation we had.
Mhm.
So everyone
Mhm.
was longing for the times, for the good
Good old
times,
days.
good
Yeah.
old days. So after that, even still we are grieving for the ones we never met.
Mhm. Mhm.
Sorry. So that's how so there is a overlying nostalgia in the 2020s era. So that's why
Sure.
Top Gun Maverick worked.
Hmm.
In a meta way, it also talks about nostalgia.
Yeah.
Dead
Yeah.
Reckoning, Final Reckoning on your face displays the nostalgia. So
Hmm.
that's why these three movies work a lot with the common audiences because all the whole world in itself is written with nostalgia. Everyone
Sure.
longs for the nostalgia. So that's why the entity in itself, I see what I see entity is as I actually read this in somewhere. So entity is it processes it is actually a compilation. It actually processes whatever was in the last 6 movies.
It's streamlining, yeah. It's streamlining whatever.
Extremely in
It's-
a meta
it's-
way. So
It is
Tom
like
Cruise is
ChatGPT.
actually it's a generative AI. So it's actually sentient. Sentient is what we should say. Sentient.
Yeah.
Sentient
Yeah.
in English. So what Tom Cruise is actually fighting with the the algorithmic filmmaking, the nostalgia, the formula of whatever.
Formula. Then
So
Netflix, the whatever
yeah,
your
yeah.
sort of
Yeah,
So
yeah.
the
because
past,
there was a
the
controversy about AI taking over actors also, so that also sort
yeah,
of comes
the
Well,
into
yeah,
the
this
fold.
is, I mean, that was a major conversation that happened in the
SAG
2020s only. Like,
Yeah,
afters,
also SAG-AFTRA
yeah,
SAG
strikes.
afters strike.
yeah,
Yeah.
the SAG-AFTRA strike and the writers' strike, all of it
Yeah,
was
Writers Guild strike,
related
yeah.
to it was, and even Directors Guild also went on strike, and all of them
Yeah,
had the same kind of like the
Hmm.
same
Fears about.
viewpoint was that
Hmm.
yeah, the producer, I mean the studios and the tech companies that own the studios now,
Hmm.
all of them have this kind of monopoly on all of the legacy work, and now
Sure.
yeah,
because they were all associated with that, they will only ever get work paid for future work instead of anything that was legacy,
Yeah.
because of the fact that streaming has does not hold the same rules as TV,
Theatrical.
because
Okay, tier
yeah,
3. Okay.
because TV has I mean, they have ratings, they have different I would say mode of advertising.
Ad-based revenue.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that they'll say ROAP, sorry.
RAP.
Hmm.
Yeah, and ROAS. These two, I
Hmm.
mean, they're all marketing terms. Like
Hmm.
Yeah,
they're all related to. They're all quantified in a completely different way for the internet, and
Sure.
because of that, the payment that comes out of streaming itself is also not that much. So the
Sure.
value and the amount that people are getting paid to make to make the movies is expensive enough, but when you release the movies, the profits from making it are not being distributed equitably, is what they were
Sure.
saying.
Hmm.
And that also matters on, they were saying that like how much you use the tool of AI,
Sure.
where they
yeah,
had defined clearly, because the issue is that right now the definition of AI for like what SAG after, like their terms were
Hmm.
that you have to first define what generative AI can be used for
can
and
be
where it
used.
is
Hmm.
being used. Because right now it's too vague. You guys have
Hmm.
given like a whole catch-all term, and that can mean machine learning, that can
Yeah,
mean generative AI for a specific asset that you're creating in like the VFX pipeline.
Hmm.
All of that can be quantified to one tool being used and these many amount of headcount that you're not going to have anymore,
Yeah.
and that has to again now be redistributed to the people who are actually doing the jobs.
Sure.
So this, I mean, for them they were like, we are already, this industry is to create jobs. Now you are
hmm,
having a system which is going to completely destroy those jobs, so we
Hmm.
want to have a equitable term in our contracts saying that like whenever you guys are having this being used,
Hmm.
that should be shared with the people who are already part of the project and
Sure.
need to be paid for it.
Does
They
this
should not be paid any less because of it.
somewhat
Yeah.
Ghibli-like? What happened with Ghibli? Or no? Is that a totally
S-
different
uh,
that is
ballgame?
because
that is
okay, so there they wanted to they wanted to expand as what the force, I mean what their owners were forcing them to was do was become like a 3D
Hmm.
house, just like Pixar.
Hmm.
And because
Mhm.
of that, you'll have more jobs, you'll have a whole retraining
And
that
it's
has to
quicker,
happen of.
yeah,
of
Yeah,
course,
it is quicker,
than
of course. Yeah,
yeah.
and it's all more accessible according to
Hmm.
them. I
Hmm.
and have has anyone seen the 3D one made by the son of Hayao Miyazaki?
No,
Mm-mm.
what is it?
yeah, yeah. I
It's
see.
it's horrendous. It's the
Horrendous,
worst.
horrendous. Dog.
It's creepy. Like
Oh, is it like
it's
Uncanny
that
Valley
bad.
type thing?
Worse,
No,
it's like
it's
Oh,
true.
the
It's
art
bad.
direction
It's
does not
bad.
work anymore.
I mean, 3D animation can be done. We have seen a lot how 3D animation can be
yeah.
done. It was like, the most basic, you learn in your 3D animation classes. That's how
Sure.
it was.
Yeah,
Yeah,
why not just
yeah.
do the hand drawn and that's like
It
Yeah,
would. I
hand
mean,
drawn has a great charm to it, by the way. Like I'm
yeah.
not
That that
dissing it at all.
I
yeah.
mean, even if
It
it hand run, we already have that story. It's Kiki's delivery service. Basically,
Okay, so
it's
he's
a rehash
okay,
of
fine.
yeah.
Kiki. It's
It
Okay.
basically
is,
a
yeah,
rehash
it's
of
exactly
Kiki's
this.
delivery
It is
service.
exactly
Okay.
that. It is Kiki's delivery service only in for a rock
Hmm.
band now, cooking
Mm.
and
Yeah.
like a witch. It's
Yes.
It's
basically you
quite
finding out
sad
your
to
aunt is a
see
witch.
Miyazaki's son made this, you're saying?
Yeah,
Yeah,
Goro
yeah,
Miyazaki. That's why I mean he came out of his retirement. Yeah, I'm coming. Boy and
I'm
yeah.
Around.
doing, yeah.
That
Actually Boy and Around in itself is in a meta way talks
Yeah, yeah.
about the
Especially the
relationship
ending.
between his son
Yeah.
and his the legacy.
Legacy, a lot of it.
creation.
Yeah,
It is,
So
yeah.
I mean,
I mean,
it requires
he
a whole
even
podcast. We don't want to jump into
yeah,
that.
I mean, yeah. But I think
Well, I think we are on
he
7 and
puts
8 and hovering around 7 and 8 in
Yeah.
terms of the AI stuff
no,
and how
Yeah.
that
but
sort of.
So okay.
Adityan made a good point that relates
Hmm.
to Mission Impossible as
Possible.
well, because
Hmm.
there is a huge legacy that
Yeah.
they are trying to
Yes.
build on or end,
Hmm.
or because right now they have decided that this is ending,
Yeah.
so or
Right
it can
now,
happen in the future,
being the
exactly right
crucial
now.
thing. Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's pretty much, there 2006 it ended. There was a recession, and after that 2010, 2011, there was this, this. Now you are in recession, and it
Hmm.
ends 2022, 2025. So
Yeah.
might be if the recession ends
5
after
more
this,
years.
maybe 5 more years, we
Yeah.
can get another Mission Impossible, I
Tom
I thought
guess.
Cruise's
But
AI will be
what I'm
performing
trying to
there.
say is that Mission Impossible, all the films represent the mindset of that era of the people.
Sure, of
yeah,
course.
And
Yeah, yeah.
agreed on that. Yeah.
it aligns with the blockbuster sensibilities. At the
Yeah.
same time, it makes a commentary.
Yep.
Barring the
Right.
sec 2, 3,
But
3 and 4, other things, they have an underlying commentary down there. So
Yeah.
it pretty much,
but whatever
so
Adityan, whatever you
Hmm.
mentioned, it's clever. It's curious that you mentioned Maverick in this because I don't know how after like within a span of like 2 or 3 years they made Maverick, because of which the production for these two films, which is supposed to be just one singular film, got
Hmm.
delayed. And of course there
delayed,
were
yeah.
strikes, the production issues, Paramount
COVID.
came and whatever.
COVID.
Then
Hmm.
it's baffling to me that they are not taking the lessons they learned from Maverick's
Yeah.
colossal like box office success, because that movie fundamentally, of course, it had its meta narrative and threads in there,
With
inherently
any
had it in
star, is
there.
it hard to
But
not? I think it's hard to not have a meta narrative. Like if any
Yes.
yeah,
star
but
bigger than this
Right.
Yeah.
main
Maverick
Yeah.
character is
very
Yeah.
involved.
He is. I mean,
Maverick
they.
very
I
well
mean,
got
Hmm.
the maximalist
Hmm.
modernist sensibility, right? It was a very modernist film
It's a
that
very
came out
different
in the
film
middle.
from its in 1986 version. Like that was
I
again, as
Of
I was
course, yeah.
saying, belonging
it's
to an
actually
era. This is belonging
I
to that.
actually don't feel it's any more different than like the right stuff, like
No, I think the tone is
Maverick. Yeah.
The
like to me
tone
at
is
least
Tone is
it
very
is.
Yeah.
different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One
Yeah.
is
Tone is very
cheese
different.
and one is like fairly serious, I think,
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
but
comparatively.
that's what like
I
it's
think.
baffling that whatever Maverick did, it was fundamentally a maximalist modernist
Hmm.
film
Yeah,
that came out in 2022 or
yeah.
whatever. But now when I know we're inching towards talking about more about the seven and eight films,
Yeah.
especially the latter one that is supposedly the final film.
Hmm.
Now, when you look at the first hour, entire act, not just the entire act, it's so badly
8,
structured that the
8
first
you
Yeah.
mean.
of it,
Yeah.
the first entire hour, it is maximalist in a way, but it's not modernist in any way, because
Hmm.
it's combining this swan song of Cruise, and
Hmm.
rather than you have these films to show his vanity in the form of stunts that he's performing, you don't have
Hmm.
to introduce that vanity structurally into the screenplay by
Hmm.
reminding us like literally every 2 seconds something
You
from the
mean
past
in
films.
when in Rogue
It's,
Nation, Alec Baldwin with a straight face says that
He's
He's the
the
Ethan Hunt
manifest.
is the manifestation of
Living
destiny,
manifestation of destiny.
so
like a yeah.
what I'll and I think I said this a little bit in the yesterday wala
Oldest
episode
flame.
also.
Mhm.
Hmm.
It's the tone. Alec Baldwin
Yeah,
Yeah.
can say that, and it can sound
exactly.
as if it's half serious and half meaningful.
Hmm.
Sorry, half serious and half meaningless, like a fun
Hmm.
thing, throwaway, like a dialogue to say.
Yeah.
Haley Atwell standing there looking at him as if he's Jesus
Mhm.
Christ, can't, is basically
Again, no Jesus Christ in Scientology, sir.
whatever. Like
Yeah.
my
In the
point
first
is
10
that
minutes,
the
it's no
The
tonality
joke.
whole
has
yeah.
the tonality has shifted from one of uh, meta-ness, amusement almost, to
Hmm.
reverential like it's like like to me when I was watching it, I was like they're making it seem like he's going to save the world, which I
Hmm.
don't think Tom Cruise can save the world, because Tom Cruise, I know if there are fans here, he's a weirdo, and what the good thing about weirdos is that
Uh,
you can make they can make you root for them, and
Hmm.
I am rooting for him in 7 much more than I do in 8. I'm rooting
Hmm.
for him in 6 and 5 much more than I do in 8. In 8 it feels like they are asking you a bit too much. to root for Tom Cruise as opposed to Ethan Hunt also. And I'm just like, I
No.
get it. In the scheme of AI versus
Hmm.
Tom Cruise, I will watch a Tom Cruise film, and Tom Cruise's commitment to entertainment is something I'm all about. Like, fine, human effort, human whatever your, I know the bad end of this is your, I would say the worst of Fast and Furious and like other stuff. So I think what the thing I'm basically getting at is that when you're essentially, this feels that after a point that he is in a Salman Khan or a Vin Diesel movie. In terms of the way the film has a reverence for him. I don't think the
No, but
film.
Yeah.
Yeah,
no,
go
I
ahead.
think that's where Aryan's point is so relevant, and this is exactly what
Yeah.
I've been thinking about. Is
Yeah.
Top Gun Maverick gets this right on every level.
Exactly.
Top Gun
Exactly. Yeah.
Maverick fundamentally understands how to celebrate Tom Cruise as a star, celebrate his legacy, celebrate the
Celebrate his
nostalgia,
vanity.
Maverick.
his vanity, everything,
Also,
but
I mean,
still
it
have.
also gives him vitality, right?
Yeah, it gives him vitality. It sort of, but it also is also about like passing it on to to the next generation. There's like a
Yeah.
whole narrative about the industry writ large without even having to like even like vaguely
Reminding
gesture
you
at
of.
it once, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
the thing is, it's like I would not have been surprised if Top Gun Maverick came after Dead Reckoning and Final Reckoning.
Sure.
That they like fumbled their way through this and
They
then they learned all
basically
the right
like
lessons.
perfected it in Maverick. Like,
Yeah,
That's
but
what
like
that's why
you
I'm
can't
saying
have
that
the
it's
same duo,
almost
like have it perfect and then like fuck it up in exactly the ways that Top Gun Maverick
exactly.
gets it right.
okay,
Exactly.
okay.
That's why
So
I said that it's baffling to me that this movie came out after that, because we would assume that they learned their lessons from the box office numbers and the respect and the reverence that the movie in itself garnered back in 22. Of course, it saved cinema and everything, but now it's like, oh, now we have it on records that I single-handedly saved cinema, my production, my attachment to this one film, it saved cinema. So now just accept me as the Jesus figure, which is okay. Like all like most of the Hollywood blockbusters have this Jesus, like there's a biblical narrative woven into them. Like as people now, as people
That's
say
been a
that
lot.
once upon a time, every Hollywood big film used to be about an analogy, like an allegory of
no, of course,
Jesus.
that's
Now
fine.
Messianic,
Yeah,
now it's an allegory
messianic
of
figure.
Trump.
yeah,
Right?
yeah.
Well,
It's either an
or
allegory
or
of
about
Christ
AI.
or
Like,
Trump.
I think the AI thing is so central
yeah.
to 7 and 8, which we'll get to. So
Yeah.
my I know we've talked a lot about and around 7 and 8. So I just want to formally say that we'll start talking about 7, not just outside of 7, but like what is in 7 and what maybe some of us like it more than the others. I know we have different opinions. Like some of us like 7 more than 8. Some of us like 8 more than 7. So it's all
Whoa, who is that?
Chris.
Really, you like 8 more than 7?
I do like 8 more than 7. 7 is such a bloody bore. Oh my God.
Okay, so we'll get to this.
Okay.
First, we'll get to 7 though, because I think it'll lead in naturally, of course, like it will lead in naturally to 8. So yeah, 7 is directed by Mr. Macquarie, written by Mr. Macquarie, and I'm
Eric
not
Co-written.
Jensen. Eric Jensen.
Eric Jensen, and then DOP and editing, which I have to editing
Pressure
I will
Tracker.
search, but the DOP is Fraser
Cinematography is by
Taggart, or how do you
Taggart.
pronounce his name?
Pressure
Okay.
Taggart, and editing is by Eddie Hamilton.
I have some questions for you guys. Please clarify. I will send them to you via email because I'm very
Pressure Taggart worked as second unit cinematographer for all the Mission Impossible films. And
Oh, is he? Okay.
MI6 Fallout, the helicopter sequence was shot by him. And
Yeah.
the most relevant, the most the special thing of MI7 and MI8 is the first Mission Impossible film to be shot entirely in digital.
Digital,
Mostly
yeah.
all the
Because
films
Elsewit
are
left, right? Because of that also.
all
because
the
he
films
doesn't
are
adapt.
all the films are shot in either
Short terms.
35 mm, IMAX 70 mm. Switch it
So
off.
interesting that the film's plot is about AI, and then the film has shifted
Yeah.
from film to digital, which is
Well,
quite fun.
I mean,
there is a reason to it, and
yeah.
No. I'm
Fraser
saying
Taggart,
it works well within the thematics even more, I think. So yeah.
Yeah,
I think it was
Ari
because they
Alexa
wanted to
loves
use
Sony
wanted
Siri
to
antagonist.
exactly, yeah, they wanted to use the Venice system because it has a detachable sensor and like
Venice
a
system
remote
only they
sensor that they can
use.
use.
Actually,
Yeah,
Venice.
Venice, they went for that because of
What is
Maverick.
this? Please tell me.
Maverick was where
I'm
they
just
had
again.
first
I'm
started.
nodding in approval, like the way I nodded when you were talking about your screen turning from normal to pixel to cow.
Uh,
So please
okay,
explain
so
what you're saying.
okay, so in Maverick, they wanted to shoot on real planes, and for that, you will have to have a very compact camera, and
Compact
you'll be
cameras
yeah, and
and
they
large
actually
format too.
yeah, they wanted to have a large format,
Format.
and also be it should be like mixable with their already large format camera that they were using, which is the
Okay.
Venice, and
Hmm.
that's the reason why they just kept using it in this project, and they wanted to have multiple angles, good coverage, and
Yeah.
for that you need to go with
Sure.
digital.
Yes.
And honestly, no one can tell the difference
Okay.
unless
Yeah.
you really
Yeah.
push your system
Yeah.
and you're trying to
I
use it
mean,
for your
even in
narrative and
even
stuff
in
like that, then no one can tell the difference.
even in Fallout itself, you can't tell the Actually, the helicopter sequence is shot with digital only. Sony
Yes,
Venice.
yeah,
But still,
exactly,
you
yeah.
can't find the difference between the film and
They
Oh,
would that you can
that's
digitally
you know what
manipulate
they
into
did.
looking like
Yeah.
film also, right?
Yeah,
So
Yeah,
yeah.
that's so
there's a
well made.
company called Photochem. Okay, so what they do is they did this. I think this was made famous in Dune. Was that
Yeah.
they'll
Which
take the
Dune?
digital footage, the first Dune,
Isn't
and
David Lynch?
no. Okay, well, okay,
Yeah.
no, the new Dune,
Dennis
Denis
Villeneuve.
Villeneuve.
the new first Dune, the Denis Villeneuve Dune,
Yeah.
where they shot completely on digital and then
And
they
they
printed
converted.
it. Yeah, they
Yeah.
printed it
Yeah.
IMAX
on
70 mm
IMAX
films.
70
70
mm
mm
film.
films.
Yeah,
Okay.
because their large format is as big as like 70 mm can go.
Yeah.
They can
Okay.
blow it up even more actually, and that's
Yeah.
what they do because of like they're using anamorphic when they're using anamorphic lenses.
Anamorphic
Anyway,
films.
that's
No,
technicalities.
no,
But
no.
for
I'm just saying,
for
Hemant,
this
because you're
specifically for
explaining.
Fallout, they did do that. Yeah.
I'm saying
Hmm.
because you're explaining all this, you better send this episode out to anyone who's a tech head, okay, on film, because I want responses to this from them because I don't know about this.
Okay.
I'm just learning, but it's good
Hmm.
learning. It's
Okay,
not like
yeah. No, but
nonsense.
I
Yeah.
went through the photochems
Yeah.
like movies that they've worked on, and I was like,
Mm.
Yeah.
where did they work on Fallout, dude?
Mm.
I'm like, oh, makes sense. Like they went for
Yeah.
it was a digital sequence, and
Digital
they
sequence.
Okay.
used they just used that to match it. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think we'll get a little bit more into other formal elements of Dead Reckoning also. Before that, does anyone want to volunteer here and tell me what Dead Reckoning is about?
Ethan, what's your objective? What's your ultimate objective?
Your life will always matter more to me than my own.
None of our lives can matter more than this mission.
I don't accept that.
Oh man. Okay. Well, it's basically Widowmaker.
And I let me warn you, I will do this the same for Final Reckoning. So
Oh my God, no, I can't. This is like getting the first part of the exam, part one exam, part two exam, and like I can't do
no,
that.
you do the
I
first
can
part of
go.
the exam. Second part, I think
Then you
someone else
realize
has to.
that it was it. Then you realize that it should have been just one singular
Fun,
exam.
yes, but
One
whatever.
single
Yeah,
Yeah.
part.
but
Honestly,
yes,
couldn't
Hemant,
have
go.
been. It's impossible to do that. Like so,
Mission
they
Impossible.
had.
Yes, go
Yeah.
ahead, try.
So
You're
okay.
not Tom
So
Cruise. That's why you can't. You're
Exactly.
not
in
Jesus.
Dead Reckoning Part One, you have so the
It's
entity
not
is
part one
something that
anymore,
has.
Hemant. You're already wrong.
Oh, damn it.
Dead
Yeah, it's
Reckoning.
Yeah,
Dead
Dead
Reckoning. Dead
Reckoning,
Reckoning
just
one.
Dead
yeah,
Reckoning. So
yeah.
dead and then final. This is how I
Yes,
name
dead
my
and final,
editing
or
files.
just do DR and
Final one,
FR.
final two, final,
Yeah.
final, final.
Yes.
uh, so so basically a long time ago, before any of the events of the
Like story
of
sessions, I think, Hemant. Go
yeah,
A
ahead.
long
Sorry.
time
any,
ago, before any
no,
of
but
the story
no, but
started, there was Jesus.
this ties in a lot of that how they've placed the story is that like they
Sure.
have placed Dead Reckoning's beginnings before MI3.
Yeah.
So they have said that in MI3 whatever happened you I mean so okay, yeah, whatever, like so they had two Russian like they had
Like
one Russian submarine that went
Hmm.
missing, and in
Sevastopol.
that
Thank you, Chris.
Sevastopol.
Sevastopol.
Sorry.
Sevastopol. Sevastopol, yeah.
Sorry.
I don't know what that reference is to, honestly. Is it like a Russian novel or whatever that they're trying to like say, oh, it's a smart
You explain the
reference?
plot.
It's a
We will
city.
think about
It's a
that
city.
later.
Sorry. Oh, it's a city, a major
It's a
seaport on the
city,
Black
yeah.
City. Okay, well, okay,
Hmm.
fine. Anyway, so in that itself, they have an entity, okay, which
Hmm.
is basically their form of their source of intel. So whatever you were hearing all this intel from people and everything, all of that was being passed by this software, and now
Hmm.
that has gone missing.
Hmm.
And now because of that, everyone is like now at each other's necks because they're like everyone was benefiting from this one piece of information. Now you've
Hmm.
let it go. Now the IMF has to come in.
Hmm.
So IMF is now, I think in this case, like Ethan
Two
is
keys.
basically going after the
There's three
information
sets of
by.
people going after each other in Dead
Yeah,
Reckoning.
exactly.
It's,
Yeah. So it's
Yeah.
Ethan, Elsa, and then Luther, all of them going in like parallel,
no. Oh no, I was
right?
mentioning something else. I'm saying that there's that whole that what is it called? Sevastopol, not Sevastopol.
Sevastopol, yeah,
Yes, okay.
Sevastopol.
So there is that thing that happens, and in the big, which I have to admit, first 25 minutes of Dead Reckoning might be my least favorite bits of anything in MI. I don't like them at all.
There's a
Hmm.
And I have a
like this.
huge issue with the boardroom sequence and the way it's
Oh
shot
God,
and
I have
edited.
been bitching about that from the very
So
beginning.
that is as go by, but the plot of this is essentially that uh, everyone is looking for this MacGuffin, which is a big thing in MI
Huh.
in
Or
all
the
these
three
things.
parts of the MacGuffin,
So
yeah.
there are three
And
Yeah,
parts.
they need a
and
key. They need to find two parts of a key, connect them together, and do some chabi
They need to.
darwaza ka kholna hai or whatever. Anyway,
no, you
point
create
is
the
The
cross basically from
cruciform
The
Uncharted.
key.
cruciform
Yeah.
key,
Cruciform.
yeah.
Cruciform key, yeah.
are we
Yeah.
going into all the semantics? What's the broad
Okay,
picture
sorry.
here? Broad
So
picture
they
bolo.
need to find the bloody key so that they
Yes.
can get the
Get
entity ka source code. That is what they need
Yes,
to
yes.
do
and they
inside
need
And
to
this
that's only
company.
understand
inside of yeah.
what its purpose is, right? Everyone,
Huh.
except
So
okay, and then
they
there's a
all know
lot
the
of people
purpose for
doing
it.
this.
They just know that
No,
that tool is being used and manipulating
sure,
Information.
using
Eh,
they're manipulating information that's going out to people. And
yeah,
once that becomes like rampant on the cyberspace or whatever,
Hmm.
yeah,
that Kittredge guy says that basically there'll be no truth anymore. And
Yeah.
Yeah.
the whole fight is against the fact that truth is being suppressed.
yeah, and
Yeah.
everyone
So
is doing this. So
yeah.
it's like
And
uh,
some people want to control the heads of states want to control it for themselves.
arrival.
You've got Gabriel who is with the entity who wants to make sure it is control it has the control over itself, and
Yeah.
Ethan Hunt who thinks the best thing to do is to destroy it because
Destroy it.
it is
Yeah,
fundamentally opposed to humanity or whatever
which is
such.
Yes.
yeah a good
Yeah.
meta text on the star system, essentially raging war against CGI or AI. I would think
So
because it's Tom Cruise
Right.
against AI, right?
now
You know that's
here,
the
Yes.
Yeah. Or
yeah.
it's
Go
like
ahead,
for
Adithiyan. You were
him
saying.
against digital, anything
Hmm.
digital, he hates it. He just wants it to be human and
This
he wants
isn't
it to
there a
be high
dialogue in eight
stakes.
where he's like, "You guys stay on, or you stay online too much."
You guys use
uh,
the internet too much.
Uh,
it's too
Yeah.
much.
yeah.
That's, I
Yeah.
mean, here the conspiracy that was seen in the extremists in 5, 6 is actually infiltrated into the public in 7 and 8.
Sure.
What it
Right.
signifies
Yeah.
actually, the whole 7 and
Yeah.
8. So
Yeah.
that's how there's relevancy to the plot and everything with its
No, I
with
know,
the
and absolutely,
with
and I
the
think one of the so I'm just going to start off by saying this, and of course, all of you one by one, Aryan, you can start because of course you've just come in, and I don't know what you think of Dead Reckoning that much. I know what you think of Final Reckoning. Anyways, Dead Reckoning, I would say. So I was messaging Chris, and we are in disagreement about which of the reckonings are better than the other. So I was basically saying that I get the this digital paranoia, right? This confusion, what's caused by this increased digitization, and this almost like a surveillance system. There is no privacy, there is no truth, of course. I
Yeah.
feel that much more in Dead Reckoning, especially like you see that opening sequence at the airport, not opening, sorry, like after the
Post
credits.
The
credits,
Abu
yeah.
So
Dhabi
it's
airport.
the airport essentially where three sets of people are following each other, and
Yeah.
Shia Begum does the most hilarious version of being confused by someone's actual face, and trying to
Yeah.
take it off, assuming that it's a mask, which I think is wonderful, and he does this again later.
That's yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but anyways, it's this whole idea that no one knows anything. And I think the film does a great job of clearly communicating that, in the sense that you get
Yeah.
the idea that there are these three sets of people. One of them is the whatever his name is, Gabriel. Gabriel is doing something. He's also wanting that one thing. Then Tom Cruise and his team, of course, are doing that, following or trying to get that key. And then there is Kittredge's guys who he gas bombed whatever in that board meeting with that green ivy or whatever it was. Anyways, the whole idea is all of them are like, following each other, and all of them are getting confused because in some ways the entity is trying to divide them. And you get the whole thematics and all are very nicely laid out in that whole sequence. I think the first sequence in that, and then what follows, I think is one of the best sequences of one of my
Italy.
favorite action sequences is the Rome,
Italy.
the
Rome.
Fiat,
Oh,
and
yeah.
that, which I think is
Battleship
yeah,
Potemkin
to me
reference.
is the sort of MI thing I like, which is like it's got that lunacy to it. It's almost Looney Tunes in the way it's
Yeah.
sort of got that
Buster
energy.
Keaton and everything you got.
Yeah,
Buster
yeah,
Keaton.
and you see the reaction shots Pom Clemente gives in that, and it feels like she's
Yes.
directly out of like a comic. So you get and it's extended and really well shot, which is not something I say for the other parts, some of the other parts of the movie. But the camera's like lugged onto the side of the car, and a lot of the
Yeah.
angles you get is like, you get to feel that sort of visceral thing when the cars are toppling over and everything. And I think one of the things which I think is missing from the next one is in this, by doing this very elaborate action sequence, which is like, screwball and confusing a little bit, but
There's
very
a
well
lot
done.
of, the improvisations is
Yeah,
in that
A lot of
Italy Rome
riffing.
sequence.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you get,
Whipping,
I
I would
think,
say. Yeah.
Haley Atwell and Tom Cruise ka bond, I think I buy because of that action sequence and the scene that precedes it.
Yeah.
To me, that sort of, it's the action communicating the drama, which is epitome of that is Mad Max Fury Road for me. And this sort of,
Or any Jackie Chan movie. Yeah.
I mean, I've
true.
not seen many.
Yeah.
That's why I said Mad Max
Whoa,
Fury Road, contemporary
man.
action.
Oh my
I mean, again, we all
Actually,
have
I would
blind
say even the
spots.
Expansion.
new one, even Furiosa, honestly. I loved
Furiosa.
Furiosa
Really?
because
Okay,
of
I
that.
know,
Because of
but I
Yeah.
think that's very opposite
Yeah.
in terms of the action. I think the action and the world setting are a little bit different in that, as opposed to
true,
to
yeah.
me,
But
this is essentially the car chase. The way the car chase progresses essentially informs their dynamic, which I think is
Sure.
the
Yeah,
lovely thing
yeah,
about it. Like, it doesn't feel like the film is
yeah.
needing to stop to do the character work and then do the action, which I think happens even a little bit in Fallout. There's a little bit of that in Fallout, I think. Great movie otherwise, I think. Like, it's just relentless action stuff. But
Yeah.
yeah, I think that's the peak of the film. And I think the later stuff of the film works less for me. But again, it's consistently moving. To me, it's like
Yeah.
it's constant movement going one place to another and intercutting between three people chasing each other, and all of them have like this intrigue, and it's overindulgent. I'm not denying that at all. There's sections where people talk a lot. Though again, I think there are like wonderfully good bits of visual comedy of Vanessa Kirby essentially waking up, falling off to sleep again, being cut with her, then waking up and falling off to sleep again. And then, I think he in both these movies, bless Christopher McQuarrie. I know, this Varun was very salty and shady about him, and I found that pretty disingenuous. I think he's well worth, like, he's earned his worth to be praised.
yes,
And
definitely.
if some of us don't like his
Definitely.
films, I don't think there's any reason to blame him for not putting effort. I think all of his films
Oh,
are
yeah.
he puts in the
Yeah.
effort. So and
See,
in both films, even in VIII, I thought he's doing his best. I know the writing is
I
flawed,
mean,
but I know
I
he's doing
mean,
his best to keep the film moving at some point, which I'm just like, okay. Anyways, but
I mean,
I mean,
yeah.
that reckoning,
they,
Christopher McQuarrie, Cruise collaboration is like, after the Rogue Nation, everything is like the one student takes 100 by 100 all the time. And suddenly that in Dead Reckoning, in Final Reckoning, I mean, after seeing the reviews, I mean, the
Yeah.
receptions,
Mm.
it's like the same guy taking 85 by 100, but still you don't say he's a worst student, right?
Of course. I mean,
That's
again,
all.
it's like like if Varun made it on chat in the previous conversation. I know he's not here, but I said this to him on chat also. Like, I think
So
it's being
that's how
very
that's how I would
disingenuous to
say.
him. Yeah. No,
That's how I would
agreed.
say
I
finally.
agree. Aryan, your thoughts? Sorry, go on Dead Reckoning.
So Dead Reckoning, when I watched it back in Mumbai on its like premiere or whatever, which I was like
Yeah.
shocked that because I was expecting that, oh, IMAX, amazing.
Hmm.
But then I realized that the movie wouldn't expand into the IMAX ratio. I was like, fine,
Hmm.
okay. But during the first 20-30 minutes, as you guys said earlier,
Hmm.
I was genuinely thinking because like Fallout. It's literally not just the it wasn't just my best favorite, like my favorite Mission Impossible movie. It's literally
Hmm.
one of my favorite action films like ever.
Yes,
Yeah.
I was
exactly.
like extremely excited going to Dead
Hmm.
Reckoning back in 23. And the first 20 minutes I was like, I think they are screwing it up, which is like funnily the same thing I had realized while watching the Final Reckoning.
Hmm.
But in the case of latter, it was actually true. Thankfully, it wasn't true
Okay.
in case of Dead Reckoning because that movie, oh my God, I rewatched it a day
Hmm.
before watching the new one, and I liked it even better because
Yeah.
of how I this time I understood that there is a case to be made that the first 30 minutes are deliberately cheesy and very throwbacky in a very
Yeah.
80s pulp way.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
realize that considering how the
Yes.
film kinetically plunges into action and espionage beats once they go to Rome. And I wrote this in my review back in
Hmm.
2023 when the film came out, that the last entire hour, not just the last 1.5 hour
The
of the film,
train.
there is a
Hmm.
The
case to
train
be made.
Yeah.
sequence.
Even before that, the
Okay.
jump, the way it's intercut, it
Hmm.
is the best Mission Impossible movie,
Sure.
even better than Fallout, that entire first last hour,
Okay.
because it fundamentally understands that it's sitting on the bedrock that no matter how much Hunt and his team plans things in advance through their flamboyant tech,
Hmm.
things would always go wrong, leading
Go
Yeah.
them
wrong.
to
Yeah. Yeah.
improvise. And that entire last is constant improvisation built on these
Yeah.
espionage pulpy tropes mixed with practical stunts, which culminates into the
CGI.
biggest stunt in cinema history, where Tom Cruise doesn't even need a plane or wings to fly.
It's still
Like
gasp
for
induced.
me,
I
it
have
is.
to admit, it
I
is still a
watched it.
gasp induced
It
sign.
is
I did gasp
extraordinary. Like
watching it
when I
on
Whole
laptop.
rewatched it on
theater
my
went
laptop
gasping.
for
Yeah.
even watching it, it was the first time I watched it on a smaller screen on my laptop, like
Hmm.
right before watching Final Reckoning, and my stomach was still churning, like while watching that. I had an active gasp while watching that sequence,
Same.
which
I
is,
was
and even
watching
the
it on the flight in Qatar. The
oh,
Qatar flight in the small screen. It still smacks.
then it
Wow.
probably wasn't the film,
Hmm.
it was probably the flight.
This flight, I was drunk mostly. I think maybe that's
Oh
why.
yeah,
Yeah.
maybe yeah, that explains. But no, I think it's extraordinary, especially and even the opening, the Abu Dhabi airport sequence, I think
Abu Dhabi
it's
was
the
best, man.
most oh my God, like, and it's so
They have
playful
great
as well because
chemistry
you
in
see
that.
Yeah.
It's
him.
so
All
it's very
the
playful.
And again, oh my God, when Dhruv mentioned about Haley Atwell and Tom Cruise's dynamic established through that entire car chase sequence,
Hmm.
that's amazing, of course.
Hmm.
Love that shit.
Hmm.
But even their the first
Oh,
meet
it's
cute,
lovely. Hmm.
yeah.
the chemistry, oh my God, like chemistry. I just wanted them to kiss. Like
Also,
oh
also
my God, the chemistry
Haley Atwell had a lot more spunk to her compared to Rebecca Ferguson. Rebecca Ferguson was more
oh
like
yeah.
serious,
I mean, that's
grounded.
true.
Yeah.
Like eventually she turned
British,
into
sir, British.
Metal Gear Solid Solid
MI6.
Snake. She
Yeah.
No, Haley
yeah,
Atwell is much
but
spunkier in Seven. Eight, she's a buck,
in
I
eight,
Yeah.
would
yeah,
Oh
say.
my God. Let's not even go
But
in
there.
anyways,
yeah, I don't know what she
That's
actually honestly.
natural.
Okay, I know what she was doing
or
in
maybe
eight.
her
She was
daughter.
really
Sir.
Sure.
no,
No.
dude. Actually, she looked too young for him. Honestly,
She is
like
too. Isn't
she
she too young
way
for
too.
him in general? Like
Yeah.
I'm not doing the age
Anyone
disparagement,
is
but
too
like
young for him. He's old.
Rebecca
Sir,
Ferguson, Rebecca Ferguson
he's
feels
Yeah.
like
reportedly
a good
supposedly
match.
dating Anna de Armas, please.
So yeah, exactly.
I
Anyways,
mean,
no. My
Yeah.
Go
point is that
gossips.
their dynamic felt off in eight to me. Seven, May they genuinely had a spark. Like where I was like,
Yeah.
I know some people
yeah.
really dislike Atwell's character in general because everyone really loves, except for Hemant, loves Rebecca Ferguson.
I love
Character.
Rebecca Ferguson too. I love Ilsa Faust.
Okay,
It's
so
just
sorry.
that
What
they
we've
didn't.
been hearing is gibberish then, because whatever I
Then
want to
no,
hear.
you've
And
been
even
hearing is Rogue Nation as a movie does not make sense,
Okay,
and
fine.
it does not make any.
oh,
It does not serve anyone in any way. It's
Okay.
the most
Wow.
forgettable of all. It is the
This is such
Pablo
a
Honey of
rogue
the
take.
Radiohead discography has Pablo Honey and Creep. That is what Rogue Nation is to Mission Impossible. That
This
is what
is
it
no,
is.
but I know
you're
even
making like quotation marks that should be put on like
Quote, quote
quote
unquote
coming.
it is
Yes.
quote unquote.
Promotional
If anyone who thinks Rogue Nation was quote unquote good
I think everyone here
was
thinks it's
is
good.
wrong, is bold
is
wrong,
great.
is bold capital italics wrong.
I think
Underline.
Rogue Nation is like no matter that's the after
I
2 and
think
3
4,
that's
5,
the
6
film I
are the
would
pinnacle of the franchise. But
Yeah.
anyway,
they are
yeah.
Hmm.
but like even
Uh,
like Rebecca Ferguson's death and the reckoning part one whatever it's like a lot of people were upset with it like of course like
I think
Yeah.
she's
it's
got
not
that
as
commanding screen
impactful it
presence
should
but
be though.
Yeah,
For me,
it
It's
at
so
wasn't
least.
as
even
impactful.
upon
Yeah,
rewatch
It's
it was
so
yes,
anticlimactic.
correct.
I
Yeah,
Yes.
I didn't think I thought that while watching it for the first time,
Hmm.
but upon rewatches, I realized that it's very, very well crafted because
It's a
she's
well-directed
constantly
sequence, I think.
pulling her trademark stunt or
Yeah.
whatever trademark tool where she's like climbing onto the
Mm-hmm.
opponent's
well, she's a
shoulders, and that's
sniper.
how
She was
she
introduced as a sniper, and then
that's
she
how
has
Yeah,
she
ended
that's
up being
called
a
that's
that's
sniper.
how
cool.
we see her taking down her opponents throughout both the
Yeah,
films,
in
three
Rogue
of the
Yes,
Nation
films.
especially.
actually,
Yeah.
But
the
here, you see
Hmm.
that like on that bridge, it backfires. It doesn't work the first time, it doesn't work the
Hmm.
second time, and then you realize, oh, it's coming. Because when it's like that big MMA thing, right? When your biggest throw doesn't work, you know you're about to be screwed. So I think
I
in
just
that regard,
okay.
it's very well
I just thought
choreographed.
I
I
mean,
don't buy Isaiah Morales killing her. I was just like,
Yeah.
like
the
I'm just like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
the
He
Vienna
again,
sequence had
he is
the
like Lane. He's also one useless as
I
villain.
think
He's
he's
got no
worse.
No,
teeth.
Lane is
No
Lane is
teeth.
a much better villain than
Hmm.
Yes, yeah.
this guy.
No,
Yeah,
I
I
just
would
think
say
it's
I
very
think you like.
wonderfully
I think
intercut that sequence with Tom
Hmm.
Oh
Cruise's
yeah,
stuff with Clementieff,
Yeah,
running.
the
Yeah,
Tom
Clementieff.
Clementieff.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think
yeah.
that's
Pom
any
Clementieff was the best part of that movie. I felt like
100%.
she was
very
legit.
good.
She had the
She had one
you know
really
the
emotional bit also, which I was like, you know what?
yeah when she
Pretty
Hmm.
that's the she should have been the one telling him he's Jesus because he showed her the way, right? Like
yeah.
No
where it's like, oh,
one
you
should
saved
be
my life.
telling anyone
No
they're
one should that.
Jesus.
I love Tom Cruise. I don't need that in my life. No, but I'm going to be a little bit of
You'll
the
have the
Debbie
Fleabag
Downer
moment, no?
here.
Then
Oh yeah,
The
what the fox.
no. Please, what was it? God? Do you want to fuck the priest or do you want to fuck God?
Fuck God. Oh yeah, the
Anyway, sorry. Before we go
No,
Pe-
no.
into
I'm going to be a
Petunia
bit of a Debbie
from Harry
Downer
Potter
here
says that.
the
because I'm
yeah,
going to bitch about Dead Reckoning for a
you
little
can
bit if
bitch
you
about it.
don't
Then
mind.
Adityan, you go in, and then Hemant, you finish this
Yeah.
discussion off, and then we move to it. Yeah.
No, because
Yeah.
I don't know if it was I've been
You
rolling
made
my
a
eyes
lot
in
of
certain
reactions.
disbelief.
Yeah, I
Yes.
saw.
Yeah, you just
Because I just could not possibly disagree more with almost every single point that you guys have made. Now the thing is, the funniest part of it
that
all
you
is I
defended
had
it
the
first.
yeah, I had the exact opposite reaction kind of what Aryan had in the sense that I quite liked it on my first watch. I mentioned this earlier as well, but on the rewatch, I was like, I am so bored. I want this to end like so bad. Like, and
I
the thing
think
is
the
because
only time I was like actively bored was during that entire uh, club sequence, the
yes,
exposition
Okay, so
dump
that's
I'll
and
where
all.
get
you
to
guys
that. Yeah,
probably
yeah.
share. Yeah.
So the thing is, I actually really don't mind whatever the first 25 minutes or opening or all of that, what
Okay.
Dhruv was talking about. And I honestly don't even care about all the thematics, whatever. I just think one, it's a very
Thematics,
poorly
whatever.
written film.
Yeah.
And the second is it's boring. It drags like anything. I'm sorry, your film does not need to be that long. And it's just
All
got
this you're
to
saying
Wow,
about 8, right?
I'm saying
exactly.
this
Yeah.
about
Sorry.
7. Wait. I'm going to say the ulta of all of this in 8. So we can
wow.
This is such a worlds
I will
apart.
just
Maybe
I will
Chris, you
active
just
passive my
wanted
response for 7 back.
Sorry, go ahead, Chris.
No, but
Please,
no.
please.
So the thing is, for me, I think when I was rewatching it, I think that there's some baffling filmmaking decisions, and one of them is the one that Dhruv pointed out
I
about
will
eye
I
lines
will
and such.
post
But
this on Instagram
yeah,
because I want people to explain to me how this happens in a major $400 million production. Okay,
no, I'm
because I
saying,
was
but not
really like
not
taken aback.
even that. There's like a conference that happens at the beginning with the Kittredge character and the NSA and all of that. The cutting in that, like, we were calling it a polycule last time because everybody finishes their sentences and not one person gets like a full dialogue out before it cuts to someone else, and it's
It's very
genuinely
oddly cut.
nauseating.
It's
It is
oddly cut and
nauseating to
oddly
watch.
framed, I would say also
Oddly cut, oddly framed.
because
Yeah.
and just to make it slightly technical, but
Hmm.
also because it sort of explains what the
Yeah.
perspective is in basic sort of short reverse shot, you get the eye line thing where left to right and right to left. Like if you're shooting one person from, and correct me if you're wrong, I'm not the technical person here, but this is from whatever little film studies knowledge I have. So please correct me. Anyways, the
Hmm.
whole idea is that whenever you're shooting conversations, like if I'm shooting Chris from left to right, and then I will shoot myself from the other side because if we are doing the back and forth,
Hmm.
essentially. That's generally not what Christopher McQuarrie goes for. I don't know
Hmm.
why. He shoots both people on the same side of the axis. Is that easier to do? I don't know. This
Empty
is the
space,
technique.
sir.
Huh?
Negative
Yeah.
space, sir. Negative
But
space.
negative
No,
space
no.
opposite sides में तो आ सकता है.
Antonian.
No. This is the sort of technique that Ozu uses, like the
Hmm.
180
man.
degree. I'm
Yeah.
like, I'm not sure this is conducive to your Mission Impossible film. But
Mhm.
anyways, that was one of the first thoughts, and then uh, the other thing is he like again, it goes back to I think he's trying to make the scenes as dynamic as possible. So it's this whole thing. As you guys, I think last episode mentioned something of the TikTok generation, and I think it
हाँ.
is a little bit key. There is a lot of talking, so let me try and make it sort of. And the thing that happens with me though is that when I was watching this, rewatching it, I was like, I
Hmm.
just can't take any. I can't pay
Hmm.
attention because I started
Yeah.
like like what are you doing with the cutting? What are you doing with the camera? Like I just don't understand
Hmm.
it in a way where I
Yeah.
got very
No,
distracted.
dynamic doesn't mean incomprehensible or headache inducing, right?
Which
And so
no one needs to tell him. He knows how to direct stuff. Like it's
so
that point.
so the thing about Dead Reckoning is in chunks, and that's why I think like when I think about the film in retrospect, I still think about it positively because again, there are sections of it I really like. I
Hmm,
love the action sequence between Clementi F and Cruz. I
hmm,
love the Rome
Yeah.
sequence. There are great moments across the thing, but as a whole experience, I just think it drags on for just way too long,
sure.
and I don't buy Atwell as a character itself. That's one of my bigger problems.
Hmm,
Is just because I know that kind of Ilsa's death retroactively makes me dislike her, and that's a thing that's happened for a lot of people. But I'm
hmm.
saying even outside of that, like obviously their meet cute happens before Ilsa's death. I just I just don't see a chemistry between them. I just
Okay.
don't see, especially, and this is something I mentioned in the first episode as well, that the problem for me fundamentally is that I don't like the dynamic that the two have. Like in with all the female characters in general, minus Ilsa Faust, there's a certain directionality where Ethan is the savior and he has to do so and so, so and so. And Ilsa works because she flips it around. She's the one who's saving his ass half of the time that she's in it. And that is what puts them up as equals. But then when Haley Atwell turns up, it's back to that, oh, he has to turn up here and
Yeah,
do
but
this.
Ilsa saves
And
her, not Ethan.
Yeah,
no, but
Ilsa
still,
saves her in the end.
I'm still saying, but the way that in the final sequence she tells him, oh, you have to show up and all. I'm not talking about the logistics of how it turns out. I'm just
Think of
talking
them
about
as
how the
father-daughter.
character.
They don't kiss, right?
Sir, regardless, I'm
Mm,
saying
Yeah,
you
but
have
they
a
are. I mean, there is a. I mean, you're right. There is a like a kind of a
I mean, he's old. Like he
imbalance
looks old,
between them.
considerably a little older than Haley
No, but
Atwell,
like
to be
again,
honest.
the question is then how do you deal with what is the dynamic you're building with a female character in the story, right?
I
Like
thought they
then
had, I thought they had chemistry. So
I
sorry.
just didn't
Though
see it. So
chemistry
from
is one thing. Well, okay, chemistry is one thing, and then what's the point of a character is another thing.
is
Is
another
like how
problem, and
is
I just don't see a point of
I
a
mean, she's
character
the
in
savior
something
in
like Dead
eight.
Reckoning.
Sure. Well,
Sir, we
I
are not
wouldn't
talking.
call her
Let's
a
be eight.
savior.
Eight has got other issues. I'm just saying,
Yeah.
in seven, in isolation, I just think there are great individual characters. Like I love Shea Begum's character. I love Pom Clementiev's character.
So we'll get to the
I
Shia Begum character later.
yeah, But the thing is, I think as a whole, I just think if it had been edited better, like I think you could cut out a good half hour from Dead Reckoning, keep it as it is, and I think I would have loved it like maybe 5 times as much as I do now. But
Okay.
I just, for me, like, and again, I still like the film. I just have a lot of issues with it. It is what my sort of
Okay.
being
Fair.
bitching about
Adityan,
it is.
you can counteract all this by saying how much you love it.
I mean, first of all, it had the, this actually we talked this in the first itself, but let me reiterate it again.
Hmm.
This Final Reckoning and Dead Reckoning had the campiness of the Ruger Bond era a lot.
Mhm.
Basic the Spy Who Loved Me basically, because
Mhm.
Spy Who Loved Me is my most favorite Bond film
Sure.
ever. So that's why I love both the Reckoning so much. I
Mhm.
enjoyed it a lot, to be
Mhm.
honest, because I watched it with a collective audience, so
Sure.
they enjoyed it a lot. So I
Mhm.
enjoyed it a lot, and it relies on a nostalgia of MI1. There's a lot
Sure.
of callbacks to MI1 a lot in
Filmmaking
MI7, to be
also.
honest. In
Yeah.
filmmaking choices,
Hmm.
with the narrative and everything, there's a lot of similar to the Prague sequence. You have this Venice sequence. There's a fog
Mhm.
surrounding it,
Yeah.
so
Mhm.
it's pretty much like the modernistic. I mean, the
Yeah.
Yeah.
2020s version of whatever the prop sequence was.
Yeah.
So it was like, the Easter egg, by finding Easter eggs throughout for an
Sure.
MI fan
Mhm.
who's been following this franchise. So
Mhm.
that's how, also the thematically, the
Yeah,
politics and everything.
I was about to say everything. Like I know Chris said I don't care about the theme. I do care about the thematics. I do think the AI
Mm,
thematics of
ah,
this are
ah, ah.
actually quite interesting. I would
No,
say,
when
Of
I
like
course.
said I don't care about, let me clarify. When I said I don't care about the thematics, what I'm saying is when it comes to the quality of the film, I do
Sure.
not.
I'm not saying about your
No, no,
opinion,
I'm
Chris.
saying to
I'm
what
just
Yeah.
Dhruv
saying,
said that
No, no,
I
yeah.
care. I like it's good. I'm saying when I say I don't
Yeah.
care about it, I'm saying in the larger scheme of things, when it
Sure.
comes to my
mm,
enjoyment of the film, that's
Sure.
not the
Of course.
point.
Of course. Got
Yeah.
it.
so that's the elements and everything. It's like, I used to read this lot of non-fiction books on espionage and everything. So that's
Mhm.
how this. It's kind of like, you get a
All your
kid to a
favorite snacks in the
candy shop
same.
and
Yeah.
favorite candy. So that's how Final Reckoning, Dead Reckoning was for me.
Sure.
So Fallout, both the all the three films are like this. So that's why
Mhm.
it's like, I couldn't. I understand Dhruv what he's saying. Like, he's, technically he's saying this, 180-degree
Mhm.
rule and whatsoever.
Mhm.
And Chris is saying how it's edited. Like, there's this there's this characters. What's the use? He says,
Mhm.
and I get the point, but
Mhm.
still it's like,
No, I mean, you
there's
enjoy
this,
it.
Yeah.
that there is this, it satisfies, quenches my
Of
curiosity
course.
a
Yeah.
lot. Curiosity a lot. So
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
why I loved Final Reckoning, Dead Reckoning. In fact, Final Reckoning, there's some bits. It's like, that was like, the childhood guy
Mhm.
who loved this,
Hmm.
espionage, things,
Mhm.
politics and everything, reads a lot. It's kind of like seeing it in its screen. So that's how
Yeah.
it
Sure.
was like. It was like dopamine hits a lot. So
Sure.
that's
Sure.
how it was like for me. And it had all the Roger Moore fun, and
Mhm.
the whole 40-minute sequence, as Aryan described. It's the
Mhm.
best sequence.
Hmm.
Mhm.
Actually, it has all the mishaps.
Mhm.
Actually, I'm even surprised. Today only I saw the making of the whole sequence, and it is like they have combined a lot of CGI shots
Yeah.
with
Hmm.
the
Yeah, it has like
yeah.
3,000
I think
CG shots.
you can
Honestly,
kind of.
that part actually kind of ruined it. I think
Okay.
two major sequences where CG was used in MI. One was in Fallout in the skydiving sequence into that
Yeah,
whatever that building is,
yeah.
Party. Yeah.
and
With a
then
line, yeah.
after that, yeah, and then after that was the Dead Reckoning's ending where the ramp off was
Ending.
happening.
Train
Yeah,
Hmm.
sequence,
they
yeah.
were like
The
Oh,
train
shooting
sequence,
this.
the beginning
Hemant,
of the train
you have
sequence.
to see other train sequences of a similar kind to not to appreciate this sequence.
Yes.
I
In
am referring to Siddharth
soundstage,
Anand's
there's
Pathan.
I
Pathan.
mean,
Oh
I
wow!
mean,
Oh my God! Oh yeah, I know that sequence a little.
there's this,
Jeez.
this uncharted
Yeah,
throwback,
Uncharted.
Yes,
callback to
Yeah.
yes.
Uncharted.
Uncharted to
That's the
Among
That was
Thieves,
first
yeah,
like,
thing I
and
that
think
was like
about.
so
Yeah.
good. I mean, so
I
good,
know.
man. For
No, but
me,
even I was rewatching this movie today, right? So I was like, you know what? This is still like this has that. You know how in Ghost Protocol they're falling up and down in the
Yeah, yeah.
parking
Yeah.
lot.
The bur-
It's
Yeah,
got
yeah,
that
yeah.
same
yeah.
energy of them, like, because each of the essentially the train boxes is
The
falling
cars.
down.
Yeah.
So yeah, so it's like, essentially one by one. So it's got a good has a little bit of a comedic
Fluidity.
punch to it, which I do also like.
Yeah.
So yeah.
No, but
Yeah.
I have
Anyway.
a question for Adityan, if that's
Mm.
all right. I mean, the thing is, I struggle, and this is maybe because it's my area of expertise, where you see the camp coming in, for Dead Reckoning and Final Reckoning from, because like I get some of the sequences, like the Rome sequence, I can think is campy, but I don't understand where. I mean, I'm curious to know, where do you see like a certain camp coming out of it? Because it's just, I think it's too tonally inconsistent for me for it to be campy, if that makes sense.
Okay. I see where that's
I think
coming
there is a
from.
maybe we should define campiness versus camp.
Sure.
Yeah, no, but no, I
Yeah.
don't mind that.
I
I
think the
want then
way
where is the campiness? Yeah,
the
that
way
Yeah.
he crashes into the train and flips and
Mm.
throws
That
out
has
the
a
guy. I think that is, yeah, those all,
That has a
it's
campiness,
very,
That's more
and
that's what I'm
slapstick, I
saying. It's
guess.
very,
slapstick.
yeah,
we
that's more slapstick.
Yeah.
Campy requires a
Okay.
certain
So you're doing the
irony and
Abu Dhabi
so
sequence
I
has this,
don't.
No, no, I'm
those.
asking, yeah. I'm not blaming you. Please. This is
No,
I
good.
think
no,
This is
Simon
the good
Pegg's
part of our
the,
entire back and forth, the way he turns off
The
the GPS and everything, that is all like quite
I feel,
campy.
yeah, I
That
feel,
I'm in a
I
lot of
feel
stress over here. That
Benji,
what are you
That
find
is,
it
yeah.
That is
again,
quite
I want to
campy.
shit on, again, I want to shit on Rogue Nation actually. Benji, for some reason, man, who was perfectly, was like on top of his game. He was like, I'm ready to be a field agent. He was going to kick ass. He was supposed to be like the nerd coming out to the big leagues. And you give him like always make him the weakest link. That is something that I felt was very,
Okay,
like
so Hemant, they made him the
uncharacteristic.
strongest link in 8. We see how that went. Or one of the strongest links in
Oh,
it.
well,
yeah,
yes, yeah.
I mean,
I was just like,
Well, even
what
in
have you
Dead
done to my
Reckoning,
Simon Pegg? Like, I love Simon Pegg so much. In 8, I was like, you made him grow up. No one wants
yeah.
that of Benji. I'm like, he needs to be a little
all
comedic or
his
more
desires and
comedic.
Yeah.
aspirations, all
Yeah, I'm
his
just
Well,
like,
he
aspirations
can
of
be
what?
that.
becoming a
The
field agent.
I know.
he can
I'm
Yeah.
You
like,
can easily have that with a new Benji coming in who is basically him, and he has to like tell him that like, hey, oh no, that's how the things are done here, kids.
they have a
Like
bit of. I
again,
think. I think there's a better. Well, yeah. I think there's a better movie in which Pom Klementif and Simon Pegg have great back and forth, and that's exploited throughout the movie, not introduced at the end, if that makes sense. I think that's one of the films, for me at least. I was like, again, I'm a Simon Pegg guy, so like I'm really into whatever. He's one of the few people I find funny in mostly whatever he's in, because he's got those mannerisms which I laugh with most of the time. And in Final Reckoning, I was like, don't do that, Simon. Like I know when he was doing the comedy, I was like, I'm not laughing with you. I feel very bad. You know, because he's made Shaun of the Dead and Hot Fuzz, which are like the best things for me, like in terms of laughing. Like, those are
yes.
things that make me laugh all the time. So I was like, you have to use him better. And I think Rogue Nation actually uses him well. That's why I was
well,
Yeah.
making
well,
that
he's
stupid
not
face.
It's
in.
both his
I
character
actually
and
don't
his
think that Simon Pegg was the funny one in any of those movies, though. Like
what?
I
He
felt
is in fourth
he's
in
not.
Kremlin. Have you seen the Kremlin
Nameless
sequence?
sequence.
Oh yes, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, true. Okay, yeah, 4, yeah,
I think
definitely,
both his
yes, yeah.
character and his aspirations of becoming a field agent got punctured just like his love.
Fallout has one of the best openings just because
Fallout
of the
has,
Yes,
punchline he gets.
yeah.
Because
yeah.
of wearing that mask finally in the pre-credit sequence. But anyways,
Yeah.
sorry, I'm going off the rails here a little bit, like the train at the
Rail
end of 7.
train.
Fallout also
But
has throw best title card drop. Like
Best.
it's
so
really
good,
good,
so good.
Oh
so good.
Like in the
yeah.
So
I
final
best.
actually
one,
think
I
The
3
was
has a very
thinking
good
injection,
one.
that's
I
the
actually
When he
think
injection
3 has
says
a
turning
very
into
good
done,
one.
the
we're done.
yeah.
which one? Which one?
I think 3
When he
has a very
says
good one. The
done, we're
opening,
done.
which happens
I don't
later,
even remember.
unfortunately.
Yeah, the
But
cold open
it's
in the
really good.
MI3
Philip Seymour
was
Hoffman threatening to shoot
Yeah,
Michelle
after
Monaghan.
that, yeah.
where is the rabbit's
Yeah,
foot? That
yeah,
scene. I mean, that sets the tone. You sit
yes,
down. You sit down and watch
yeah.
everything. That's how MI3
Yeah,
opening
no, but
was.
6, I agree with Aryan that whole sequence of.
Six is awesome, man.
I love
Awesome.
when the sets of the
Yeah,
hospital
They
like
fall
just
a
fall
down, and
down.
fall.
you can
Yeah.
feel the
The
anchor coming
theater
in.
went when the theater went berserk when that scene came
Yeah,
and
yeah. It's
everything
like, did
was
we get it?
what?
Yes, we got it.
Everyone was like
It was
shouting.
like, yeah. And then the injection thing
Yeah.
leading to
Yeah.
the
When we
fuse
say it's
thing in the
done,
head.
we're done. We say done when it's fully
Yeah,
done.
and which sort of I just want to, because we'll directly move to eight now a little bit, because I think we've
Yeah.
unless actually Hemant, more to say
Uh,
on seven.
well, on seven, I think okay. One thing that I again okay, back to Benji. The main issue that I have with all okay, the whole point
Thank
of
you,
the
ma.
MI
Boda.
after Fallout, or at least after three, has been
Okay.
supporting
Oh,
cast. Is
by the
like
way,
get his
here
supporting
let me
cast to
just
be as
clarify.
good.
If we were doing a ranking, Hemant, just to put you on the spot here, what would be your ranking of the MIs? Just to put you on the spotlight and make it very clear.
Wait, is this like number one, number two, number three would
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
be
What is
okay?
your favorite? Sorry, I'm just putting, because you
Oh,
have such a
my
diverse or different taste
Hmm.
to us here that I want to get it
um,
out there.
I don't like. Okay, I would say for
Last, I know
me
what it is.
Hmm.
personally, last yes, everyone does. For
Yeah,
me, no, I think for me, I think Fallout has now come out to be the best one for me.
sure,
Hmm.
And then I would say number one, and then
sure.
I would say and then I would say Ghost Protocol.
Okay.
Because
Hmm.
I mean, all of them have very, now that I think of it, all of them are very nondescript kind of like adversaries, but it's all mostly because of
I thought you
sequences, like
liked
how
three
everything
also. That's
flows
why I
together.
wanted to hear three at
Three,
top.
you meant like okay, three is number one for me. Yeah, three is number one for me, followed by Fallout, followed by number one, followed by Ghost Protocol.
Okay.
Yes, yeah.
And
Hmm.
then two, and then seven, and then eight, and then five, right?
Yes, yeah. I think
Okay.
Oh my God.
eight
Yeah.
eight is above. Eight is I would say no, actually yeah, eight is second to last. Yeah, that's about it. Yeah.
So last is five. Then.
Of course, definitely five.
Okay.
I can't
Fine.
stand that movie.
Okay.
I can't stand
So
Jeremy Renner. Maybe
how
because
have
of
you
that.
how have you endured the WhatsApp chat in which everyone has been gushing about Rogue Nation?
Oh man, Roga, I just kind of like tuned out after a point. I was like,
Do
this
you
is
think
like
that made
I
you
feel
drink
everyone
doubly?
is either. I think I stopped drinking after that point. I was like, nothing is gonna fix this emptiness inside me.
Okay.
I feel like there is one. I mean, maybe I don't get the the
Maybe
fanfareness.
Chachipotara.
Like when చచ్చిపోతారా ఏంటి ఇది Adityan, when he was talking about the fanfareness, of like going to a theater and having that
Hmm.
experience, like, getting that like
Sir,
that
I don't know if you
dopamine
should
hit
mention
of cinema.
the circumstances you went to the cinema in also. That's a different
True, yeah. I
experience
mean, that's
altogether.
also, yeah, yes, yeah. I was on, I mean, with eight, I was definitely yeah, inebriated. I would say, like,
Okay.
like,
Yeah.
depressed, inebriated, grieving, all at the same time, and
Sure.
then after that, and on a gummy. So I was like, chalo, my. It's very colored, I will say. My,
Good, you
my
found color
response
in
to
the
that.
murkiness, I suppose.
Yes, yeah.
A little bit.
But I felt like that fanfareness that in the first maybe okay 30 to 60 minutes, maybe up to an hour of the movie,
Mm.
Hmm.
where that fanfareness was like really like supercharged,
Mm.
because
Hmm.
you felt like, oh, this is the final one,
Hmm.
this is the last time you're going to see this group, and
Yeah.
everyone was getting kind of like their say in it. Issue was that like they were like trying to do that movie and
Mm.
then pay off the last movie at the same
Sure.
time, which is
Hmm.
something that they should not have done. Maybe they should have kept it like I keep going back to this every single time I'm here. I'm saying, like Two Towers and Return of the King, where
Hmm.
you need to have kill off this general and then go for the main guy. Like in this, I felt like the Isaiah was supposed to be like just the
Saya, that also
general.
sounds biblical. Anyway, sorry.
Yeah. Uh,
Inside
I
man.
mean, it does feel like
Hmm.
they were trying to like
They
pit him
mention
against
Noah's
him.
Ark and floods also, so
Yeah,
I will
yeah,
remember that. I did
You
yeah.
copy
have that.
pasted that text into
I was
both
just like,
my chat and the group
I
chat.
was like, oh, did you just say that out loud? Like that was my Tenet moment where I was like, do I have to sit here and listen to all this before everything happens? Anyways, whatever,
Oh
leave it.
man.
My
Well,
popcorn had finished by then, which was a big issue also. Anyways,
well.
go ahead.
Quietly judging you.
Yeah. Yeah, eight.
Of course, you have 2 popcorns.
No, no,
Is that
eight.
what you're saying,
Two,
Aditya?
two. I need two. I need two. I needed three actually for this
Wow.
one. But anyways, sorry. We'll go on to
Sorry for
find
your
the.
sodium intake, dude. Like,
I know, I know.
get your liver checked.
No, we'll talk about the final reckoning now.
This can't all be true.
Every word. CIA Black Vault break-in.
Am I reading this correctly? The Kremlin bombing?
In fairness, the bomb was actually meant to kill him.
He gassed a security briefing. That was just 2 months ago.
This explains the handcuffs. It's still not clear why he's here.
If we want to bring the world back from the brink, we have to deal with him.
Should he choose to accept?
Smart people on every side are close to panicking.
What exactly is your plan?
Who should I start with? It's directed by Christopher McQuarrie, of course. Written by him and same. All credits are same.
Everyone's the same.
No. I think it's there's like 2 writers for this.
Yeah, someone was saying
What
yesterday.
is
Someone
it?
was bitching
Drew
yesterday.
Pierce.
Someone was saying that
No.
someone wrote it who didn't write something good, whatever garbage. Amartya
Has to
and
be Varun. Varun
Varun
must
was
have
saying something.
been.
I don't know. Chris, please check and tell us what they were
Eric
saying
Gentris.
that you haven't cut out. Eric what?
Jenderson.
Eric
Okay,
Gentris.
but that was the
Explain
first
us
in the
to-
first one also, right?
Explain it to
Yeah,
us, Chris, how you think this
Yes,
wasn't
and
long
and
tedious
no,
film.
and because Chris and Adityan are the biggest fans of this film,
Hmm.
I'll tell Chris because Adityan
Yeah.
has expressed his liking of it really clearly also.
Yeah.
Chris, please do me the favor and explain me what is the final reckoning about. As you did quite well, I have to say, when I asked you about what all happens in the movie, because I was lost.
Okay.
Hmm?
To be honest, I was also entirely lost. Like, I
You were
was
too busy paying attention to Tom Cruise. Fine, we get it.
Yes, who
Yeah.
is half naked in the film for a good while, which is,
Yes.
I mean, it also you have to also note the fact that Tom Cruise's hair is one of the
Jesus,
shortest
of course, the nakedness makes
wait.
total sense.
No, I'm saying apart from that, his hair is one of the shortest in Dead Reckoning,
Yeah.
and then it's longer in the Final Reckoning. So that is, like I told you, it's directly proportional to
The
my
directly
liking of the film
proportional,
is
yes.
to the length of his hair. But
That's
yeah.
why you like
Creases.
Rogue Nation
And the
because
length
he's
of the film.
Yeah.
because he's shirtless and like doing that thing
Yeah,
with
exactly.
with the pole, like
Oh,
he goes up.
Exactly.
He
Amazing
looked,
stunt.
I have to say, he looked old in this in a way where I think the film could have really
Done
used.
some de-aging.
No. It
No,
could have
no.
really used the fact that his age is showing. Like, like in the sense
Okay.
that because it's a fine ender also, right, of the franchise.
Yeah.
Like, I think it could have pushed or leaned more into the fact that he does look a little bit. He had the
True.
"Am I still here?" Reaction, like a little bit. Like there's a moment where he says, "Wake
Yeah.
up!" Someone says, "Wake up" to him, and I was like, "Oh,
Mm.
that's my meta moment in the film." So it's
Yeah,
sort of like
anyways,
I'm going to be
so-
mean to it
yeah.
because just because I like the franchise and I really didn't enjoy the film, I wanted to
Yeah.
enjoy it. So yes, go ahead.
Yeah, so now that the cruciform key has been found, these people have to figure out where the submarine actually is. So the most
So the submarine, which is called
Sevastopol,
Sevastopol.
which is a Russian submarine, which is at the bottom of the ocean. So
Yes.
the team splits into two. So Ethan goes to find actually be in the place to be able to enter into the submarine, while the crew goes to find where exactly the submarine is by finding the coordinates of it. He goes down, finds the Sevastopol, finds the Podkova, which contains the source code of the entity, after which they move to South Africa, where there is a whole sequence about uploading the entity onto the server so that it essentially survives the it survives the end of the world. So but Luthor has made a poison pill that will destroy the entity, and so Ethan has to now get the poison pill, which is with Gabriel, and then put it on the Podkova, and then trap the entity, which will save the world. That
The
is what
poison
happens
pill
in-
is a malware. Yeah,
Yes.
it's supposed to be
Yes.
just like a piece of code he created of
Yeah.
something that they don't understand. That's all powerful.
The person who was not thinking in that language was thinking poison pill. यहाँ पे क्या इसकी क्या जरूरत है
It's
for that
malware.
for
That's it. That's it.
So I had
Simple.
to explain it to Dhruv that it's a pen drive that he has to
yeah,
stick
yeah, I
onto
was like the
thing.
Yeah.
USB thing. Okay, I was thinking poison pill for like a software really, and so I like these are the again I'm technologically
Simple.
illiterate.
Now
half.
you're like thinking this is actually AI, artificial intelligence
Listen,
directed
I
to
was surrounded by
Spielberg.
people who were
No.
asking me what happened in the film, okay, and I was trying my best to dodge those questions
No,
because I
I'm
didn't.
genuinely telling you, I had my friend and my brother watch this film after me, and I told them, you are not going to understand what is happening. Just go with it. If
But
you wait to like comprehend
what
it,
I'm gonna
you're just going to
Wait
get
what I'm
one
gonna
lost.
say
second. Are
is,
you
but
saying, Chris? Are you saying you just have to feel it?
oh God, don't do the
You feel.
Tenet thing, please.
I am
Don't try
absolutely
to
going to
understand
say
it.
that.
And just to
I
be
am
clarified,
Just
yeah,
feel it.
absolutely
Chris
going to
does
say
really
that.
Chris
Wow.
likes Tenet. Just
Yes, I
I
do like
love it.
that.
Yeah, come on, yeah. What's not to like?
everything.
The
The
plot.
sound design
Come
for
on.
one. Anyways, the soundtrack is great though. Anyways, sorry.
Speaking of soundtrack tangent, sorry, but
Okay.
what the hell happened with the soundtrack on this last film? Like, what the hell happened? Like,
Who gave the
if
soundtrack to
if
this?
it was a
Max
different guy,
Outwood
then
had
Chris.
and one more
Alfie
person gave
Godfrey. Alfie
Alfie
Godfrey. I
Assassin's
don't
I
know.
was
Creed.
like, if you
Pause
cannot,
again.
if you
They
cannot
made
come up with
Assassin's
a
Creed,
good
really?
original,
They
if you can't
Max
come up
Outwood
with a good
were
original
Mm.
soundtrack, then just reuse the original theme. Like, keep
There was only one bit of
rehashing it.
music that stood out to me because the film at that point is so reliant. I was so some things to credit, of course.
Um,
I was very surprised by the fact that there was this much time spent on almost like a wordless action sequence, which is
The
the underwater
best,
sequence.
the
yeah.
the best sequence I think will
Sure.
I will watch this year or
So
the next. Like,
I think I need to rewatch the sequence outside of the movie to
same.
really like it
Yeah.
Yeah.
more.
that
I feel because
I'm
for
I'm
me,
I'm
I love the
actually planning
intercut.
to I'm actually planning
you
to
have
go
booked
for
3
it the second
tickets.
time tomorrow, and I
Ah.
cancelled them, but I'm planning to go tomorrow, and like, not even kidding, deliberately. I'm planning to step into the movie after 30-40 minutes of the
Mm.
Oh, really?
once it's I want to watch that. I think it's
Okay.
extraordinary. What I said
No.
earlier, sorry to cut you guys off, but
Hmm.
what I said earlier, that the last hour of Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning is the best. I think that entire
Hmm.
20-25 minute 20, I
No,
think
it's
18
longer,
to
I
20
feel.
minutes.
No, is it? I don't
Yeah,
know.
Okay,
it's
18.
it's longer
I time
actually.
Well, it's 3 scenes
18
stitched
18
together.
minutes.
Yeah. Yeah.
No,
It's
when it's
80
just
minutes.
underwater, that's just
Oh.
15 to
Oh,
18
you mean,
minutes.
okay,
Just the
in
underwater.
Final Reckoning. Right.
Just the
Yeah.
one,
Yeah.
the part where the
But
missiles are falling on him, and when the
Yeah.
Sevastopol
Yeah.
itself is falling
But
down, right?
again,
Falling down,
I
yeah.
Yeah.
like extraordinary in terms of the direction, the
Hmm.
soundscape, extraordinary stuff. But then again, they do that thing where they cut back and
Oh, there's
the
the
flashback, and I'm like, it was
flashback.
years ago. Yeah, when we
Oh,
see the Dead
the
Reckoning
opening sequence
yeah,
of the
the
directing.
people
Yeah.
from the
Hmm.
Navy or whatever, and I'm
Yeah,
like, that was 2 years ago, guys. Like,
Hmm.
it was called part one. I know you guys went
Hmm.
back, and we have watched it. We know
Nahin, but I think
who.
there's a lot of that going on. I think just for a general, and I realized even in Dead Reckoning, actually they do this a lot. And this is sorry, I know I don't want this to become a Nolan bashing session, but this
Hmm.
Nolan also does a lot where it's like
Yeah.
there's a moment in Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning where he's like Ving Rhames tells Haley Atwell that you won't have days or hours or years or days to live, and then Simon Pegg goes, "You'll have hours." I'm like, yeah, I mean that's exactly what it meant, what Wing Rhames meant. It's like
but
additional bit of ki clarify kar dete hain taki confusion na ho. But the
Hmm.
effect in something like Final Reckoning for me was like people spoke so much that I tuned out. I was just like,
Hmm. No,
I'm
it's
like,
not even
I
speaking,
can't.
it's beating you over the
It's
head with
showing.
it. Like, when I'm
Yeah.
talking about this film, I'm going to be agreeing with all the criticisms you have and then saying, but I still like this film. So that is
Yeah,
like
of
Fine.
course. I
I'm
liked it.
saying
I
that
still
in
well,
liked it,
advance.
but
I mean,
But
I
with
think the whole reason why they done the like beating over the head with like the facts that are going on, like why they're doing it and everything, is because they really had just sequences that they wanted to push these characters towards. There
Yeah.
was no plan of like this person's going to be here and then they're going to do this thing to get there. They didn't want to do a deal with that problem, because that happens
Yeah.
in a lot of movies where you will have like a bunch of characters. Now you have to, they're all in different places, and somehow you have to get them to this one location, because here you're trying to get people to a location, which
Yeah.
is like
Yeah,
say
also
you
separated a fair bit, right? Because Ethan has his own action sequences in this most.
Yeah.
I think because when I
Yeah.
think about like the one of my favorites is, I mean, of course, we just talked about the Rome sequence in which both him and Haley Atwell have to basically coordinate to escape Rome. But even Burj Khalifa has everyone involved in that
Yeah.
one particular action
Yeah.
thing. Here it's intercutting between two different locations, so there's a different dynamic at play there, which is why I think
And
the airplane sequence is the one where I had some of that giddy little excitement when it sort of went into the air and they were like fighting on. I was like, this is the loony stuff I like. Like, I was like, this is the sort of loony stuff I kind of think is more
yeah.
suited to this film, for me at least. Other stuff, submarine sequence, I think I'll really appreciate it once I divorce it from what precedes it. But I really think this is one of the very few instances where the extended setup for me actually took away from my engagement from the film.
I
Me and
think
Amartya talked about this recently in Seven Samurai. We have mentioned it previously also, where uh,
oh man,
extended
the
setups
build
can
up.
do a lot. They
Yeah.
are
Yeah.
very helpful sometimes. But in this case, there was a lot of that. Let me explain the plot and let me
it's
tell you
see
this
the
stuff to you. And
explaining
yeah,
thing. It's fine if it were an a dialogue-driven exposition dump, that would have been fine, honestly,
mm,
considering it's the last film, considering the logistics that went
mm,
behind the first part, whatever the seventh film, and how its
mm,
box office fared. I can see, I'm pretty sure
mm,
it was Paramount who came and gave them the studio notes.
mm,
My issue is, why are you actively cutting back to the older films so many times? I'm not even
sure.
kidding. I'm not even kidding. I'm only saying this half like semi-jokingly, but honestly, I probably watched the first film's last like CIA headquarters, whatever sequence, the chamber sequence, more in the final reckoning than I've actually seen it in the actual film. I'm not even kidding. Like four times from what I remember.
Because they have to
Like four to
remind that
five
one
times
character
better.
who comes later, I think. So there's
Yeah.
also
And
the with
even
Shia Begum character. Sorry,
it's
he's also has a
it's showing
connection.
us flashbacks from the same film, like those
Hmm.
young protesters or whatever, that they are like, oh, we
Yeah,
actually
there is
believe
that.
this is a
But
good
don't
thing.
you? But Aryan, this was even in
And
Denny
again,
Villeneuve stuff. I think these are blockbuster
no, no,
demands
no, no, no.
almost in some ways.
They are, but that it doesn't work. It doesn't
The
work here at
finale
all. And
film
especially
syndrome.
also another, like this is all studio stuff, right? Now coming to the actual writing, the
Hmm,
biggest issue is if your setup is for an entire hour of your 3 hour movie, the first entire hour, you have not made it clear. Okay, you are
hmm,
saying and telling that only 2 months have passed
hmm,
since the ending of Dead Reckoning and this
hmm,
film. And suddenly we are supposed to buy as the audience that so much has changed. That
hmm,
Ethan Hunt was just in a random hotel room for these 2 months, and within those 2 months, the entire world outside changed. Like
hmm.
the people's perception about this war and
I mean,
their
is that not
it's
believable? No.
Yeah, I
Things
thought that
change
no.
so
that was like
quickly
the
nowadays
point
that
of.
I can buy it,
I
but in
can
that
buy it.
Yeah.
sense. But
I can buy it.
yeah,
No, but if you're my thing is, if you are taking 1 hour to set those things up, spend more time on that aspect.
no, I
Like
understand. No,
connect those.
I jokingly said parts of it are
Mhm.
arrival. Denis Villeneuve's
Yeah.
arrival in what is happening, which I mean is
Mhm.
one of my, in terms of the plot, not in terms of the treatment. The treatment is totally different. But it reminded me of that. Parts of it reminded me of Failsafe and Doctor Strangelove. And I don't mean that as a compliment because I love both those films. And to me, Mission Impossible, this one has the tone of Failsafe, which is essentially Doctor
Mhm.
Strangelove serious, but has the performances of bordering on Doctor Strangelove, which is my example would be whatever, what is his second name? Mindhunter guy,
Mc-
David Fincher guy. essentially,
Oh
Holt
yeah,
something.
actor. Yeah.
Hold on.
Yes, who
Yeah.
plays General Turgidson in this essentially,
Hmm.
who's like he's the guy who objects to Angela
The
Bassett's
president.
character
And
giving,
his name
you
is
know,
Turd.
yes. No,
Oh,
but the
sorry.
way he speaks in this film, and the way I think a lot of people speak in this film, and I include, sorry, I know everyone loves Tom Cruise. I include Tom Cruise in this. There is, I found, and I messaged this thing, I found it hard to take the film's seriousness seriously. Like
Yeah,
I
yeah.
couldn't take how seriously it was taking itself and how much it wanted to do that. And Tom Cruise, bless him, he's amazing guy. Well, amazing
Jesus.
actor. Sorry, like,
Yeah. His
he's
change. Yeah.
he's there's moments where, and this is why I said Ving Rhames is maybe the favorite performance for me in this film, because I thought he was the only one who came out well with those dialogues.
I
There's this moment with Ving
I
Rhames
said
where
it, yeah.
he's where he's you know pushing the rail, like the jail ka bars, essentially Tom Cruise's, and it's that acting which I sort of have a issue with now for some reason, and which he has not done in any, because I just watched Dead Reckoning and he's not doing anything like that there. And I feel there's that unconvincing performativity to it, which I just could not buy
It's
seriously.
the what no what
Yeah,
that's he
a
sounds
little,
like
which is fine.
Hrithik
Like, there's
Roshan
some,
from ZLMT. Sorry.
I think like all the like whenever I can understand where the spot is coming from, because even like Tom Cruise, whenever he's being serious in a lot of films, especially in the 90s, A Few Good Men being Exhibit A for this, like it it is funny how serious he gets. Like the courtroom scene, he is very serious in that as an actor, as a performer. But as the audience, you can see the campiness or whatever. You can see the fun in
I
that
would
seriousness.
say
That's why it
more than
plays well.
campiness,
In
it's just
Magnolia,
clumsiness. Yeah, I mean
no,
Magnolia.
I
Okay,
think Magnolia and Tropic Thunder are the big, I think,
yeah,
shining
it's
examples
okay.
for
It's
this for
where
me.
it's where he is
Best, like
known
the
the
good
meta
version.
narrative. Yeah,
I think
where
But
he
whenever
I
understands the
I
meta
actually,
narrative here.
dude, sorry, just to interrupt. There's a moment in Dead Reckoning and in Fallout where he delivers very earnest lines, and I'm just like, you know what? I buy you. Where he essentially says it in Dead Reckoning to Haley Atwell, says that, but you don't even know me. Why will you sort of protect me? And he's like, does it even, or it does it make any difference? And I'm like, you know what, I buy you. Like, it's that whole side where he's an entertainer who genuinely cares for his audience. That's the perception, right? And I'm like,
Yeah.
in that sequence where he tells Haley Atwell that it doesn't matter who you are, I am here to consider your life more than mine, like your entertainment more than mine, or whatever it is. I was like, I buy that. I can buy that because the way you deliver it. And there's a moment in Fallout where he's about to shoot an officer,
oh
essentially,
yeah,
and he doesn't,
wonderful.
because he mellows down. He can't. He that's his whole thing. The way people get to him is through the people
Mm,
he likes, or which is essentially everyone who is not a
mm.
villain. But yeah, to me, I'm like, I buy those moments. But
That's
in
his
here,
character arc. Yeah.
yeah, but here, when the film is saying that, it's got that, it's got, again, I know I made fun of the whole Jesus thing, but it is very reverential in a way where I'm like, this
Mm,
is an ego stroking session which I can't take seriously. And I'm just
yeah.
like, for then I started thinking, because I wasn't super into the film, I was like,
Mm.
is it, like, is it fine for us to critique AI art, but then replace it with a sort of star system which also, like, deifies
As
its star
hierarchy. Yeah.
personality? I'm like,
Yeah.
isn't
Yeah,
it replacing, like, one created god
but
for another created god? Like, these
Mm.
start, I'm like, why am I thinking all
Manufactured.
this? I'm
Yeah.
watching an MI
but
film. I don't want to think all
but
this.
but
Mm.
You don't are you
but
comparing him to Surya or like Vijay?
No, no,
It's like the
and
I mean,
masala hero.
no,
He is
and I
now
want to,
turned
I
yeah,
want
into
to,
obviously, bro.
evolved
no, I want
evolved
to,
into a
clarify this, because I know that, again,
This is
Arun is on my mind, I suppose. No, I just want to, one thing,
Arun is
Cris,
on
please go
your
ahead after
mind.
that.
Man, he's
Yeah, yeah,
gonna be
no, no,
so
no.
happy to hear that.
I know. I am editing it. I will cut this.
Oh, you
But
can keep it in.
this.
no.
Yeah.
My only thing is, I genuinely like this franchise, which is, I think, why when I was watching that, I was like, I think they fluffed it. Like, in my head, I went that, like, in my head, for me, I was like, I don't know if I can buy this. Like, there was that sort of disappointment personally for me, where I was like,
Hmm.
You
I
know
don't think
what?
I'm
Like,
engaged in this. Yeah.
like Dhruv, like even when I watched the film, it came. I watched it like what, a week after most of the
Yeah,
world
Hmm.
watched it,
weird
whatever else did.
thing where
Yeah.
America gets
Yeah.
No,
something later
I
than
think
the
Ghost
India.
Ghost Protocol was something similar, or I think it opened 2 days earlier in
Opened
India
Sure.
because I
opened
remember.
a week before in
For in India?
Yeah,
IMAX.
yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Even Ghost
Christmas
Protocol. So
week it was in
wasn't
cinemas.
Okay.
Yeah.
completely surprised given whatever. Anyways, I was saying that a lot of people are so pissed, like fans, the way
Hmm.
that we are of this franchise, that oh, the first star, the first star, the first star. That's why the film doesn't work. The first star.
Mm.
But the more I think about it, even the rest of the film, the the construction of those set pieces and everything, okay, the way they get there, that it unfolds,
Hmm.
it doesn't have half of the wit or the
There is
careful.
no wit or
There
very
is
little wit, I think, which is
no,
my
no,
issue
no.
Hmm.
also.
I'm
So,
just talking in terms of the craftsmanship. Like
Hmm.
whatever
sure.
we see, it's really well directed, like
Yeah.
technically. But the way the entire South Africa sequence where they're intercutting, it
Hmm.
is very
Oh.
sloppily put together, even
Hmm.
though the
It was like
airplanes.
nauseating, especially with because of the airplane. Is
Hmm.
because they had like all the framing was supposed to be for the
Hmm,
airplane, and then you suddenly get like
exactly.
Yeah.
jarringly put into like
Yeah.
a room.
Yeah.
That
Hmm.
was very
I
distracting,
know,
and
sorry, Hemant. I know me,
yeah.
Hemant, and Aryan have
IMAX.
taken over this part. Okay.
Mhm.
And so after this, I really want to give all the time and space for Chris and Adityan to talk about what they liked about it, because I don't want this to
Yeah.
become, that we didn't like MI8. Like all of us didn't like it.
Hmm.
Two people really liked it here.
Mhm.
So
Hmm.
Mhm.
after Hemant, finish your thought and then please, Chris
I mean,
and Adityan
yeah,
take
I
over.
think okay. I'll give it maybe an ounce of grace. Okay, is
Hmm.
because
Mhm.
of
It has a
uh,
full grace character in it.
well, oh, nice. Wow.
That's what Macquarie said to
Touche.
Lily as well. I'll give you half the grace, half the
There
screen
was
credit.
I'll give you screenwriting credit. That's it. No first dollar. There was a moment in the submarine sequence where I didn't feel that. Is that
Hmm.
the reason why I was feeling nauseated and having this shift of tone is because as it was getting to the end of the movie, it
Hmm.
felt like they wanted to speed things up even more
Exactly.
than it
Exactly.
Hmm.
already
Yeah.
was oversped.
Yeah.
So that is the reason why I felt like, I mean, the
Mm.
submarine sequence works perfectly on its own for that reasons, because the editing pattern it has, or where it is placed in the movie, works.
Hmm.
And
There's
if
no
it were
music in it.
placed,
Hmm.
Hmm.
uh, it doesn't have to. I mean, it's all based on what is
And
happening on
and
screen and
correctly they
what's
placed
the
the
succession
transition
of it.
there from
Hmm.
CinemaScope to IMAX there.
Yeah.
I
Hmm.
Hmm.
mean, yeah,
Yeah,
Transition
yeah,
no,
was so good.
that
wonderful.
There,
was.
I
I
there
mean,
mean,
that
are
was.
when
some,
when
there are some
Yeah,
very
yeah,
neat transitions in general. I think there
Hmm.
were
I
yeah,
like
yeah.
in
in
between in
after
like
Fallout, but still Fallout
hmm.
is my favorite in terms of
Sure.
this
Yeah.
CinemaScope to IMAX
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
transition.
Yeah, I mean that was
Hmm.
a very big one. That too, like Himalayas, you can see it. It's huge.
That one was
Those weren't
fantastic
actual
thing.
Himalayas.
Aha, they were not.
Yeah.
No. That's
Norway.
Norway. That's
No,
Norway.
no,
That's Norway.
Yeah,
Norway.
That's
yeah,
Norway.
yeah.
Norway.
I
yeah,
think
yeah.
Norway, New
Varun
Zealand.
made this very clear in the last episode. So,
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
about the
Oh
Kashmir
man.
conflict and everything. So,
Oh,
yes,
yes. The map.
Right. Yes. Yeah.
yes.
Hmm.
Hmm. As Chris says. Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Go
उसकी
ahead.
वजह से I think
But
उसकी
yeah.
वजह से
Yeah.
Okay.
India और
I think
पाकिस्तान ने
maybe.
न्यूक्लियर आर्सेनल अनलॉक कर दिया था फाइनली.
Please don't say all this. I have to edit it, Aryan.
Bye,
Anyways,
मैं
bye.
तो यूएस में बैठा हूँ सर. मैंने तो पीस कराया इसी.
You're in New York, dude. That's the first place that gets hit in every movie.
Golden Dome sir. Golden Dome.
Golden Dome.
you're
Dude,
coming back,
पूरा
no?
लॉन्च.
Golden
Aren't you
Dome
coming
run
back?
by Elon Musk, by the way.
It's going to be
Aren't you flying
miserable.
back soon?
ओह हाँ. एक महीने के बाद.
So
Through the Golden
exactly. So
Dome.
say all this after you've gone back. Then there's
Oh yeah.
time. Yeah.
Through the
Anyway,
Golden Dome.
sorry, Adityan and Chris, please let's
Yeah.
talk what's good about
No,
Van
I think
Reckoning.
if Aryan doesn't mind, I think I'll go first just because I think I have a lot of overlap with what you guys are saying, and then I think he'll go with the phrases that he has. But like I think
Hmm.
fundamentally for me, it's also like what I think of DR is fundamentally what shaped how I go into Final Reckoning, right? So because so we were talking about this last time, but Fallout works fundamentally well for me because it follows Rogue Nation, which is a wonderfully written film. And so all it has to do is stretch the plot a tiny bit and fill the film
Sorry.
with set pieces and the I know.
I'm looking
And
at
so
Hemant's face. Sorry.
I am too, and I'm trying not to laugh. But it works so well for me because Fallout doesn't have to bother about the plot because Rogue Nation has done all the work for it. The Final Reckoning has the opposite problem because for me, Dead Reckoning is so poorly written that it has to, like Hemant said, compensate both to be the continuation of Dead Reckoning and also be the final chapter at the same time.
This is the
Which
same
means
defense
that
that was made for Star Wars, The Rise of Skywalker.
Rise of
Just to
Skywalker.
make it
Because
Please,
we
please,
learned
please don't
that
bring
in the
that.
second.
Don't bring that.
Come on.
Please.
I don't know what
because-
you're talking about. I don't care.
Honestly,
Yeah.
I'm telling you, don't become a Star Wars fan. Honestly, don't even
Don't,
watch
don't,
Andor.
don't.
How much ever people tell you to watch Andor, vehemently refuse. You know, tell them
Noted.
you know what? I don't even like Tony Gilroy. You know, like I like Dan Gilroy. I like Nightcrawler more.
And Roman J.
Anyways,
Esquire,
Dan
whatever it's
Gilroy,
called.
Tony Gilroy, okay, and
Yeah, they're
okay,
brothers.
okay.
They are related, yeah.
Some
Okay, okay,
absolutely
okay.
tonally awful film also who wrote that Velvet Buzzsaw.
Oh,
Oh.
dude. Oh.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry.
It's
I
weird.
don't know about that.
It's a weird trilogy of movies actually.
Chris, go ahead. You're not a Star
Chris,
Wars
Chris,
person.
Chris, Chris, go
That's
on,
good
yes,
for
go on.
you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But what do you mean by Star Wars? Yeah.
Yeah.
So, given that context, I was incredibly charitable to Final Reckoning. Like, I went in, and we were talking about this earlier as well, that I went in knowing that this is most likely going to be bad. But I still want to watch it because I like Mission Impossible and I quite like Tom Cruise.
Oh, yeah.
So,
Quite like Tom
So
Cruise.
generous.
I think you can
Quite
flip
like.
that around. I like Tom Cruise.
Quiet.
I quite
I
like
like
Mission
quiet.
Impossible.
I like
Okay.
quiet Tom Cruise actually. If he doesn't talk in a movie, that'll be great. Actually, you should just not give him any lines.
Just
How
stay
many
underwater.
weeks and months have you dedicated to Tom Cruise recently, Chris?
I've just been the last 2 months, yes.
Hours.
Okay, only 2 months.
Have you
many
watched?
hours?
Hey, I saw a movie recently. Have you watched Taps?
No, I'm going to. It's on my watch list.
Okay, yeah,
I haven't
it's
seen
good.
it yet. Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Yeah, I've been watching. I watched A Few Good Men. I watched Cocktail. I've been watching a bunch of his older
Wow.
films. Yeah.
And you rewatched
Color of
Eyes Wide
Money.
Shut. Everyone's
Huh?
favorite.
I rewatched Eyes Wide Shut, which I again loved.
But you are with the
Yes,
Eyes
I
Wide Shut
told you.
crowd.
I told you. There's
love
no.
it.
There's. I'm telling you. Anyone who tells you otherwise, you
It's
can't get behind that actor after you can't get behind that actor in like an action movie after you watch him in Eyes Wide
Oh,
Shut.
100%.
I
100%.
mean, that's
So,
stripping down, not literally, of Tom
Mm.
Cruise's of
Yeah.
Tom Cruise ka mentality
Star.
and dignity
Huh.
and whatever. That's the whole appeal of that film, I suppose. 2 hours,
Yeah.
40 minutes of appeal of that. Anyways,
Yeah.
Wow,
Yeah.
it's shorter than this. Oh my God. Wow.
You thought it was shorter? I thought it was longer. I thought
that's
I
Hemant's
thought I went
favorite
No,
like 3
film, that is.
That's
I
why I'm
love
just realizing
it's one of
he
my
said 2
favorite.
hours for
When
Okay,
people say
okay.
like, "What's your
That-
favorite like Kubrick movie other than 2001?" Sometimes I say Eyes Wide Shut.
Yeah.
Like,
But yeah, you're saying like it's a natural
No.
fact.
Chris,
I love
back to
it. I love it. Anyways,
Yeah. So, anyways, I across the board agree with a lot of the criticisms that you guys have of the film. I think it's too plotty. I honestly turned my brain off to like whatever was going on very, very early on. My point was just to sort of, again, it's so horrible to say, but it's don't think, feel, that kind of an experience is
Yeah.
what I had with the Final Reckoning, where I'm
I'll
like,
have to put a clip of that.
and
Fuck.
but
Sorry.
the thing, the fact is that for me, what sets Mission Impossible apart from other action franchises, and we were talking about this earlier as well, is its emotionality. That I find a certain fundamental emotionality that pervades the series, despite all of the goofy and the goofiness of the set pieces and all of that. And that emotional core is for me sustained in the film through Tom Cruise. So
Sure.
I don't know about how his performance was because I wasn't paying attention to it. But apart
And
from
and
that,
it's good. It's good for you to be
it's
honest
good
about
for
that.
me. It's
And
great
of
for me.
course, there's arguments to be made for his performance. Again, performance is very variable. There's hundreds of performances I like that people don't, etc., etc.
Yeah, and like I think Haley Atwell's character is the worst written thing I have seen in a long, long, long time in
Very,
this.
very,
In
very
the
disappointing.
the decompression chamber conversation genuinely baffled me to no end when that took place. And but I think fundamentally it's the kind of send off that I knew was inevitable for the series after Dead Reckoning, and it
Okay.
delivered the best that it could, and I am happy enough with that. Like,
No,
I'm not saying it's a great film.
I
I'm not even
messaged
saying it's one
you
of the
saying
better
this.
films.
No, but I
I don't
messaged you
think it's
saying
one.
this that if
Yeah.
anyone is pleased, I am happy that people like whoever wants to like this film can like it, and I'm very happy for them.
Yeah,
It's one of those
exactly.
things.
That
It's
like
not
again, I told
Nadania,
you
of course.
the first
Nothing
thing
is.
I told you is that it's
What is a comparison?
No, it's like objectively bad
Both
stuff.
are
I'm just
vanity
like,
projects, sir.
no,
no, please. That's nothing approaches the cesspool of hell that was thought. I mean,
sorry.
anyway, sorry.
So
I will go off again.
the
Control.
the first thing I told you was that it's a girls who get it, girls who
Yes.
don't kind of film. And I
Hmm.
fundamentally believe that. And
Sure.
I happen to be someone who gets it. Like,
Yeah.
that is to me, and I personally think that the last hour / last half of the film is actually quite well
So
made.
you like the
Uh,
submarine post
I thought the
submarine
festival
included
sequence,
included that
Submarine
and what else
plane
from that?
sequence. Yeah.
plane sequence. I thought the submarine sequence was absolutely sublime. I thought some of the
Hmm.
Yeah.
even for me, my favorite two shots in the entire film is one, Tom Cruise jumping off of the
Oh yeah,
aircraft into the water,
into the water.
and
Yeah.
and the second is when he comes up
Comes
out of
up.
the ice and the
Fantastic.
screen
Fantastic.
turns. I just think it's
Yeah.
so dynamic. It's so beautiful. Like Varun
Brilliant.
was saying,
Yeah.
it's colored really well, despite it all just being blues.
I think they use the
Looks gorgeous.
technology.
No, I mean
Yeah,
the South Africa sequence has a very
What?
different feel to it, no? Because it goes all green.
The blues
What?
are from the
It's your blue. How did you not like this one, Hemant?
Yeah,
I know it was a blue
probably
film. Oh my god.
Yeah, exactly.
Hemant was on Kabir, so he
No.
probably
I was-
saw some
It wasn't
Dude,
blue enough
Navi
for
people.
Hemant.
I
Is the
think
problem.
no. I actually I left the theater right at the end of the plane sequence. So I have to be full disclosure. I actually have not
Right
seen
at the
the
end
end
of the
of the
plane
movie.
sequence is the end.
The end.
Yeah,
Oh, okay. So that's it.
Yeah,
That's
it
all
ends
that
like
the
10
movie
minutes
was.
after that. Yeah, yeah.
Oh,
10
okay. Then I
minutes,
didn't
5
miss
minutes
much, I
even.
guess.
There's barely
Yeah,
anything.
yeah.
The
Okay, that's
monologue.
good. I literally was
Yeah.
standing at the exit and I was like, okay, like, and he was like, dude, you need to like go security check it. Shit is there.
So
Yeah.
I thought the submarine sequence was wonderful. I thought the airplane sequence is just bad. And the thing is, I quite actually liked the Punk Clementieff Simon Pegg
The
thing
Simon
that they
Pegg
do right
thing,
at the
yeah,
end.
yeah.
I
Hmm.
know
Yeah.
I would have also loved it if it got more time, but for me it worked. And
Sure.
I just think that again, it's the fact that also the fact I also love the submarine that he's in, that then he goes before he goes to the Sevastopol.
The Severance
The design of it.
Yeah, the characters inside it, Tremel Tillman and Katie O'Brien. I'm
Oh,
sorry,
yeah,
Oh my
okay.
they're,
The
God,
they're
yeah.
design
so
of it
fun.
Oh,
is this
dude,
Dr. Strangelove. Was penis
Apple
shaped,
TV DVD.
penis shaped like stuff,
Phallic, yes.
essentially.
No, but Tremel
phallic.
Tillman and Katie O'Brien.
Tremel
Yeah.
Tillman, when Tremel Tillman dropped those, like the entire theater, I was like so
You guys
glad
really,
sitting
you
amongst
guys
like
found funny?
Severance.
I found it so
He
funny.
he is amazing. Like he
No,
gives
no, I
like
don't.
Yeah.
He's great in Severance.
again.
I didn't
Honestly,
find it funny.
not because of Severance. Of course, the crowd was going berserk because the moment he appeared, I was like so glad to be sitting
He had a good
amongst like
line,
Severance
man.
fans.
He had a good
But no,
punchline.
He had a
no,
great
I think
punchline.
he was the only actor in this last chapter
Hmm.
who actually understood the assignment. What
Yeah,
tangent
agreed.
as an
Yes.
honestly, like
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
get that goofiness, you get that camp whenever he's like, if
Absolutely.
you're
Yes.
looking to
Mm.
poke fun at
Mr.
the
Milchik
pair,
did it.
you have come
Yeah,
at the
yeah.
red face.
No, if
It's
you want to say
amazing.
camp, that is like a great campy moment
Yeah,
in
yeah.
the
Yeah.
film.
That's
Yeah.
And
why
also you get
he's
a
the
got
really
it.
only
fun.
actor.
I mean, that was pretty much a classic Ruger
Yeah, yeah.
era.
Absolutely.
Definitely.
And you
Ezra,
get a great.
the Ezra Morales goes all camp at the end, where I was like, what?
That is not camp, sir. That is
Sir,
something else. Okay.
he
That's
goes, okay?
again.
He goes
That is
maniacal.
pretty much like
Yeah,
Looney Tunes, Coyote
Yeah.
and
that is
Acme.
absurdist. That's not camp. There's a difference there. But
It's not
I mean,
absurdist.
I mean, my
when you said Looney Tunes, I was thinking more like Elmer Fudd. Like he was very clumsy in that. I didn't like the fact that he had like this
But
sudden
see,
tonal shift of like having
can you
big
guys?
acting.
I know you guys like an Adithiyan. You'll of course we would speak and we'll close off on that totally. But I wanted to ask. I think this whole setup of the entity, right? I
yeah.
think I'm surprised that the film doesn't, or like Macquarie and all, didn't sort of shuffle through different people as villains, considering the whole idea is that the entity can
Finds
easily
a host.
discard people,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Won't it be scarier if the entity was different people? Like, it's almost like
Yeah,
Exactly.
true.
intruding like an apparition sort of on every person. Because this is me throwing out an idea because I didn't
Wait, the
particularly
thing,
yeah.
you
follow the
mean the thing
sort of,
where
because it is that,
yeah,
it's like
Mm.
a
yeah,
unknown thing which sort of manipulates you and sort of, because at one point in Dead Reckoning it becomes Simon Pegg and
Yeah.
yeah,
directs
yeah,
Ethan to different alley,
Ethan.
like to different routes.
yeah.
So I'm like, it would be fascinating if it could like inhabit different
I mean, like
people.
the only kind of moment it's alluded to is again my favorite fight sequence in the film where Ethan Hunt is in the shortest of short shorts fighting.
Mm.
Yeah,
Which
that's
I-
of course.
where,
What a
On the
surprise! What a
treadmill.
Where
surprise that
yeah,
that's, yeah.
no,
where
your
you
He
get
your
the
dislike of butts. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Very, men with no
where
butts. That's
old we got old, short, no butts. So we were like finding out my type.
can't
through
move
this,
his mouth because of all the Botox.
Yes. Aditya, go ahead. You can talk as much you want about how much you love this film. I know I know Chris has sort of talked well about it
Mm.
also. So.
I feel like
actually,
Chris is on the defensive with us. Like I think,
Yeah.
I mean, the thing is, I saw some initial reactions in Twitter after the Cannes
Mm-hmm.
premiere.
Mm.
So some of them compared it with the Rise of the Skywalker. So
No,
basically,
it's not that.
so
yeah.
I
Yeah.
expected. I was like, wait, what? What are you saying, guys? Are we living in a world like this? Okay,
Of the
because
entity.
I still remember
Oh, the
the first
entity.
time I went to Rise of Skywalker with my dad, who's from his childhood, he's a fan of Star Wars. So he was watching it and he was like, wait, but is this the final? What kind of this abysmal thing I'm watching? That's how my our father's reaction was, because he grew up with Star Wars a lot. So that's what that's kind of like, so I don't want something to happen to the franchise that I grew up with. So that was the bar I set. I didn't Dead Reckoning. Dead Reckoning was pretty much like, a separate film for me. Despite the continuity, I consider it as a separate film because it has its closure too,
Sure.
in a way. So
Mhm.
I consider it as a separate film. This is a separate film. So
Mm.
this was like, as I said earlier, it was like going into candy shop and seeing
Sure.
all your favorite things, going
Mhm.
all things that's, that's the sources thing, sound surveillance system with this everything. I mean, after that, I searched up. My father was explaining to me how the sources was used to, this universal time signal you have for submarines, right? For
Mhm.
every system. So
Yes, yep, yeah.
the time signal is actually coordinated using these sources stations
Yeah.
in real life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty
Yeah.
much, it's these classified after 1991, after the post-Cold War. So that's how the history is so rich in it. So I found it so interesting a lot.
Sure.
Yeah, if
whatever
anyone
they,
is actually interested more in that, there is a great. I have linked Smarter Everyday videos before to the WhatsApp group, but check out his video on this in the Bering Strait where they have a US airbase, and he talks to the people and how everything happens and basically how little time that they have when, like, say a
Drop the
missile
link
miss them.
now.
drop the link now, bro.
Hemant.
Dropping it now, yo, and and
I'll be using it in my next post. I'll be doing
yeah.
that.
But yeah, they do talk about like how all the submarines talk to
So
each other through them. Yep.
and there's this constant tussle between free will and determinism in throughout
Yeah,
this
I
movie.
was about to mention you had written a post
Absolutely.
about this, right? So yeah,
Yeah,
you've written a
so
post about it, which I can link also later.
I didn't even post actually that I mentioned how it.
Mentioned it.
I
Sure.
actually remember Three Body Problem novel and series because in
Whoa.
that the sophons is like the particles will actually if I'm right the sophons the as the Santi civilization drops it in
Yes.
the earth and it's like
Yes.
it will do the it will predict the actions of whatever people do, but it can't predict what people thinking inside their heads.
Yeah, they
So
can hear and see everything, but they
yeah,
can't
so
really
fun, so fun.
observe the
So
thoughts
and
or
that's
So
why
anything
it's
they
like
like
got
that.
the
Minority Report.
The wall
the
faces
Blade
come in
Runner.
where
Blade,
Lioji.
yeah,
No, this is Dark
but
Forest. This is the
three
second
body
book.
problem is three
Yeah.
body problem.
Sure.
That's pretty. It's
Yeah.
Different. Yeah.
that's whatever you see this American sci-fi. It's pretty much
Hmm.
more detailed, more. I mean, it's nerdy for all the physics for all the STEM people.
Sure.
There's lot of scientific details to it. So
Yeah.
it's like as it's a candy shop. So
Sure.
that's
Sure.
how
Sure. Yeah.
the entity and whatever people do, whatever Ethan is doing is pretty much reminiscent of whatever the wall faces did in Three Body Problem.
Hmm.
Yeah. Or
For
the
me.
second book of Three Body Problem, the
Yeah,
Dark
yeah, the
Forest.
second,
Yes.
the
Yeah.
Dark Forest, yes. So
Yeah.
that's how interesting it was, and I felt that it could have been more on the Three Body Problem zone.
Hmm.
I felt personally, I felt that's why I reduced half that the star with 5. So I felt like they could have gone more with this more detail. I mean,
So
minority.
you wanted the entity to be more fleshed out and have more things to do. Kind of the
Yeah,
entity did
yeah.
whatever it
I
had
mean,
to
they
do, and
say,
then it didn't do much after
yeah,
I think
the
it's the
first
same
movie.
thing. Like
because
when
in
in
Three
Dead
Body,
Reckoning,
Hmm.
like in Dead Reckoning, when it for a while infects Simon Pegg's character, like
Hmm.
over here, once you've established those rules, expand upon them.
Sure.
You're reminding us every second minute of
Hmm.
things from the past movie by actively showing us those
Hmm.
flashbacks. And you're at the same time single-handedly dismissing or forgetting the rules that you yourself set up 2 years ago in that
Hmm.
film. I think, yeah, anyways, that's what I wanted to say. Go
That's
on.
like the
Sure.
entity has
so
infiltrated more, but it's simultaneously
yeah.
doing less, which doesn't
Hmm.
make
Yeah,
any sense.
I mean, they
yeah.
show in this film they show how this it breaches the military
Hmm.
systems of the
Yeah.
superpowers and
There's
everything.
that big board, right,
I felt
with
like
it.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that was
Color, yeah.
interesting from a mainstream perspective.
Hmm.
But
Hmm.
as a guy who has seen a concept like this similar in
Sure.
Minority Report,
Yeah.
more than I
Exactly.
love
Yeah,
Three Body Problem more. So
Hmm.
I mean,
yeah.
being a Three Body Problem fan, I'm
Sure.
like
Dude, we need to do an
that was.
episode, bro. I love Death's End. It's one of my favorite books ever.
I'm reading it actually. I'm reading
Who's
it.
Oh,
moderating
awesome.
that,
Because I
Hemant?
watched the series and
I
after
can
that,
moderate that one, honestly. I have now annoyingly too much knowledge about that series.
Good.
yeah,
Yeah.
I did a post actually in that
You
series.
guys should. You
Oh,
guys
that's
should do.
great.
We should talk about books. Anyways, this reputation of this podcast is
Yeah,
that
yeah.
I
Yes.
don't
So,
read books. That's about it. So
I
you
don't
so
guys
read
should.
that
anything
thing
I
is
as
that
well.
can I
yeah.
start you off on like if you've been talking about Arrival enough, please read the short
Short
story
story.
book collect.
Hmm.
Yeah, short story collection by the
Yes.
same author, Ted
Yeah.
Chiang.
Ted
He
Chiang,
did
yeah.
he did a book called Exhalations, and there
Okay.
are like beautiful, like really nice short stories. Every one of them can be a movie. Honestly,
Yeah.
they're really well done,
But
and
instead, just
Anyway,
America
well
let's
is
get
written.
to that
capitalistic.
next, I
Yeah.
suppose.
Okay. Well, yeah. Sorry. Yeah.
I felt that it could have been more, more fleshed out, I thought. But
Hmm.
still, from a mainstream perspective, whatever people, I mean, the common audience, the common
Yeah. Yeah.
people who come to watch this film, they're like, okay, they are understanding this. Okay, fine. Okay, fine. I'm okay with it, cool with it.
Hmm.
Okay, fine. And one
Hmm.
thing is, there is this, brimming Tolkienist humanism in this
Hmm.
film,
Hmm.
I suppose. There's this
Hmm.
hope that, I mean, Top Gun Maverick had this hope instill a lot. I still rewatch it a lot every time I'm down. So that's how
Hmm.
Top Gun Maverick is my comfort film.
Hmm.
So so that's how. So I mean the last monologue by Wingram similar to how Optimus Prime speaks in the last Transformers movie. So that's how
Hmm.
optimistic that's this Tolkienist humanism that whatever something outside strikes you, the humanity has all the brimming optimism and power to get against it. I mean, I even I don't believe in I don't believe in this God like messianic
Yeah.
subtext,
Hmm.
but when I take out of that context, I feel that it's a film. It's again a Tom Cruise film. It's again a Tom Cruise film where there's a Tolkienist humanism, and you see that whatever the thing is, there's Ethan on the right side.
Yep.
There's the triumph of free will. There's nothing is ever written. Nothing is
Yep.
ever. Our fate is in our hands.
Manifestation of destiny.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I mean, whatever you see, but it's still he has. I mean, in Rogue Nation has this, the free will determinism kind of a conversation running underlying in it a lot within his dialogues. I was rewatching today Rogue Nation, so that's how I found out. Oh, okay, there's this constant. So this free will determinism discussion in a Mission Impossible film was it's always already there. I mean, it's followed. You had the trolley problem. Paradox a lot. So
I think even in Ghost
and
Protocol, it's very.
Yeah, I was
Protocol,
about to say,
Ghost
did it
Protocol.
start with Ghost
And-
Protocol?
Ghost Protocol, you got it. So I mean, it could, if any philosophical nature is there.
in Fallout, like they mean Alec Baldwin makes that comment of that. Huntley makes that comment, right? That like Tom Cruise, or Ethan Hunt, you're incapable of ever choosing one person's life over the world's.
Yeah.
So he says that because that's just a character trait of his, that it's an infallible. He's
Joel
completely
from
infallible.
Last
Yeah.
of Us.
I think, do you know what? Like, especially watching this film, I realized that it comes across as it puts us in a very weird spot because throughout all these 7 films up until this point, Ethan Hunt's emotionality, the humanism, is not through his character arc, but his character arc is informed by how we are supposed to feel and by the fact, not the fact, the reality, the perceived reality that he is always the one standing for his team, that his teammates can rely on him. That's the emotional core of this entire franchise, which worked brilliantly up until this point. But now in this movie, suddenly you're asked to buy so much, like so much, so suddenly, like out of nowhere, that, oh, see, this is the guy you've been rooting for the past 30 years. Like, see how much of a character he is. But you're like, is he though? Like,
No,
no,
it
we
goes
never
from
got.
that relationship to him, right? Like
Yeah, I
the
think, it's
manifestation
a
of
power
destiny.
dynamic shift.
Destiny.
He is.
the
I mean,
Yeah.
honestly, he is not interesting as a human. He is more interesting because of
Exactly.
the people around him. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
No,
His
but
teammates
I
inform
think
his
I think he's
emotionality.
humanized though in other moments.
Yeah.
The whole idea that people react to him before this, like again, it's the when Rebecca Ferguson and Simon Pegg react to him doing crazy stuff, they're like, are you mad? Like, why are you doing this? Like, it's that reaction.
Yeah.
In this, the characters will be like, oh, of course you will do this. You are like a Superman. It's that difference to me. Like, it's like,
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
but the reaction you are giving there makes sense because as an
Mm.
entertainer, seeing Tom Cruise do all this is lodged somewhere as an audience for me between admiration for his dedication to the audience, but also, man, are you fine? Like, but that's the sweet spot. That's the sweet spot you need, I think. But as someone who's not a
I
fan of
agree.
fandom or fan culture
Yeah.
that much, I'm not big on that stuff. I don't like
Yeah.
elevating people to a sort of godlike status. Or Scientologist, whatever. Like I'm not about that. So I really like when Tom Cruise I don't need him to be. He's not in peril most of the time, right? People around him are in peril, and that's his biggest fallibility. And how people get to him, that people who he cares about are not him, so they can
Yeah.
die. It's as simple
Yeah.
as that. And in this, it feels like he will save any and everyone, even though Ving Rhames dies in the film. Like it didn't feel to me like anyone else was in peril. And also people who were in peril, I was just like, I don't know if you've done enough for me to care about them. It is one of those things where I was just like, okay. Which is why I go back, and I'll end it on this. Go back to Rogue Nation. Put Benji in peril, where he's under a bomb, like he's wearing a bomb vest about to get blown up, and that's maybe the only time I think I've teared up. in
Hmm.
the franchise. So
No, but I
yes.
have to finish more
Finally, I'm
importantly
close
because
to the end of the movie. Sorry,
no, I have to end because I have to like show my philosophy major creds because I can't end this without doing that. I mean, Adityan talking about free will and determinism. I think that Wing Rame's monologue at the end, which I think is deeply emotional,
Yeah.
is the manifestation, is the sort of distillation of that discourse that permeates especially these last two films. I mean, like you said, that it is written is such that sort of a, I mean, it is also like Ilsa's death is based on that, and so much of
So
that
interesting. Sorry, it's
inevitable.
so interesting. This film released 1 week after Final Destination. The it is written thing always reminds me of like, the like I know there's the
I mean,
meta
it is
text of
not written is the point, right, Chris?
yeah,
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 the
exactly.
point.
No, but
It is
So the
whenever
not.
someone
point.
says it is written, it feels like
Hmm.
it's also a commentary on the filmmaking and the filmmaker who does actually write, who is the god of these films essentially. They are
Yeah.
creating, right? They are
Well, Tom Cruise is the
orchestrating
god. I
everything.
mean, if they want to
Yeah, so
really
he's the
say,
creator also of this film and the universe of
Yeah.
yeah,
Scientology.
No, but
uh,
the idea is essentially that we the film is great, or Tom Cruise can defeat this digital thing, and so can we.
And I
That sort
hope
of
he
that
does.
humanist, yeah, this that sort of
yeah.
what Aryan calls a sort of Tolkienist humanist urge. That sort of fundamental belief in the ability to choose and that free will is sort of very beautifully put into the Wing Rame's monologue, but also again, like I said, I think it's a great send off. I mean, it's sad that then they had to add the Shia Begum and Henry Cherney scene to
Oh
cap
yeah.
that off, where I'm just like,
I
no,
mean,
thank
why
you.
else
Let's
would you
just
set up the stuff with Shia Begum?
no, but like
Well,
I'm
not
I'm
at that
just
point. After that, like it could have
like
happened after an emotional beat, maybe, or before.
So
before the emotion. Like I don't want to just that handshake. I'm like,
yesterday,
I get it.
I guys see what alternative did they suggest yesterday? That Shia Begum comes and just shoots him.
shoots
I'm like, yeah,
shoots Ethan.
In a Tom Cruise movie that will happen. Yeah, sure.
When you said yesterday, I was like, there'll be an alternate debate. Suddenly, John Lennon will come out. He'll be like, oh, he's alive in this.
I think we should lay off on Donny Boy as
Donnie,
well.
until 28
Danny
years later,
Doyle.
man.
Yes, Danny Doyle,
but
yes.
I actually wanted to ask you a question about Tolkienism as the
Hmm.
as the resident.
This is the final thing, then we are off into
To
our
Adityan, I
Well,
don't know.
yes.
yeah, to Aditya.
Yeah.
Well, like it for me, I felt like they wanted to, they've always wanted to drive home the fact that Tom Cruise or Ethan Hunt, no matter
Hmm.
what anyone tells him, is going to
Mm.
follow the facts and his belief in the facts that he has looked for
Hmm.
in having an inference that is not, or that only he believes in, and that
Hmm.
he can teach other people and make other people believe to
Hmm.
finish that mission or whatever that he creates. Like
Hmm.
this is, I'm going to go back to Rogue Nation actually,
Hmm.
where Alec Baldwin is accusing him that like he is the fireman and the arsonist, right?
Hmm.
Mm.
Where he'll be like, for something I hate so much, I remember a lot about that movie. So,
You generally remember things and people you hate. You
Yeah.
yeah,
understand
true.
who I'm referring to also then. So yeah.
Okay. But there was a point in like when I was talking about, there is a sense of like this Tolkienistic you know not camaraderie, or like
Mm.
where you have a mission and you have a sort of good versus evil. Good is always going to win, but you have
Mm.
to define evil, and that's something that I felt like the final like speech was, that they were able to say that like we can all agree that this is
Hmm.
wrong, and
Hmm.
Mm.
that's what's going to guide us to the light or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, yes,
Yeah.
sir. Like, I'm not saying Wing Rames is a black church
Hmm.
pastor in the end, but he did try to like preach to everyone that like your free will is going to be your collective realization towards the fact, rather than an emotion that someone is trying to
Hmm.
impose upon you.
Mm.
And that's something that like was maybe a nice microcosm of the entire series, but
Hmm.
but it also like it gives mostly the focus on Ethan rather than people in general. Eh,
Hmm.
oh,
I think Adityan has listened to your
to my
question
thing, and then now he
Yeah.
and
is
his power has gone off.
The entity
So
has
Wait,
taken him
then
out.
the entity
yeah.
has taken over. Yeah. I think that's and this question we can leave it hanging, just like Tom Cruise, I suppose, of a
Yeah.
bridge or a
Or
building
a
or a
rock.
train or a submarine or a plane and a what
Or a cliff.
and a
Or a
bridge and
cliff.
a what?
Or
What
while
else? Keep on
flying,
going.
he's hanging on. He was skydiving without, or
I
like he
was
was
like,
trying to get his
I
oxygen
love
and on.
I love how when the parachute burns, it's like everyone is like, oh, they're gonna pull off No Time to Die after pulling off a Spectre, and then
No, my
the
dad
thing
is just like, oh
happens.
yeah,
Uh,
spare parachute. And I'm like, oh really? And he's like, hi, yeah.
I mean, no
he's
one's looking
maybe
at logic at this
he's
point. At that
he
point,
knows
they've been
better
fighting
watching a
over.
bus
No,
must
no, he's like,
confused.
that's a thing. There
It
will
is
be
a
a
bus,
spare
that's right.
parachute. And he's just like, yeah, don't worry. He's coming back.
Yeah. Anyways, I think we should end it on this note of hanging of stuff, I suppose. I know entity has taken over Adityan.
Aditya.
Hopefully he is fine. We
The
will try
Sophons
and
got him.
contact. Yeah.
He was the
Yeah.
wall facer. He was Leo G. He was I don't know, like
This is another you've gone into a different language.
oh my
I
God,
don't want
you've
to
no
ask you to
idea.
explain.
Oh my, when he said
Uh,
Santi, I was like, oh yeah, like that's you're talking my language.
no, 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 no. I have no idea. Okay.
Oh man,
Uh,
you gotta read it, don't you? You gotta start reading. You usually one page at a time.
I think I'm
Don't
fine.
look at the page numbers. That's how they get you.
Listen, I've left watching. I think reading will not be not is not getting started very soon. Anyways, here's to illiteracy, I suppose. Anyway,
Genre literacy. That's why you're on genre literacy because
Illiteracy.
you're illiterate.
सर फ्रॉड तो है ही ना उसमें जाके और फ्रॉड करना पड़ता है
अमरत्या को बोलो
Oh
इसको
man.
इंट्रो बनाने के लिए
I
Exactly.
know, yeah.
Anyways, thank you so much for listening. Aditya is back. Entity has he's defeated the entity
No,
very quickly. It saved
Yeah.
all of us time, unlike
all,
Mission
all
Impossible,
3 hours.
the
3
final
hours.
reckoning. Anyways,
My
Aditya,
my trip ran out, by the way. I had one full gummy the whole gummy's effect ran out at the end of the movie.
Of course, it would run out in 3 hours, bro.
how did it
Um,
run out though?
it ran out with his hands
With a
Akshay
flat
Kumar
butt.
style or
with a flat.
Tom Cruise style?
No, it's long hair.
Akshay Kumar style.
Akshay Kumar
Anyways,
with
sorry,
looking.
we're talking nonsense. Adityan, I know you're back. Hemant asked you a question, which I think we can answer in private because I think we are,
Yeah.
anyways, extended our time of being here. I have to edit about 2.5 hours of this episode, so fun times for me. But yes, thank you so much for listening to all three of our MI episodes. If you've been able to do that, we salute you.
I
I
don't
salute
think they would
you.
have survived the first and second episode to
I
have
would think
reached
so
this
too.
far.
I would think so. So, but then just listen to this. I think this one makes overall much more sense than those two, at least, in my opinion.
Because
Because we know who's not here. Come on, he himself knows.
Genre literacy or
No,
is it
not him.
No,
it's
no.
He was the
it's not
sanest
about
one on the
literate. Oh,
first episode.
okay.
It's about
No,
the
not the
picture Shuru
second one.
guy.
I'm
It's
sorry.
is the
Second
picture.
one, he's the one who made the bawal. So,
Okay, fine.
Mera Jinaram.
Anyways, hopefully you listen to this episode and you can please follow all these lovely people on this panel here, who are Aryan Vyas. How much are you active at Aryan Talks Film Aryan?
not often, not very
Okay,
active.
but you
Like,
will be
yeah,
probably posting something about MI. So
yeah.
look forward to that. And once he comes back to India, I'm supposing he'll be more active, even though he'll have nothing to watch. Then Hemant is here at what is your handle, Hemant?
I'm just at Hemant Kanti at Instagram. Don't follow me, honestly. Just not
Okay,
worth
don't
it.
follow him. Uh, for evidence for that, please listen to Nosferatu episode. Then you can also
Oh
follow Cris
man.
at PRDS Cris on Instagram and on Twitter at limj7 something. Yes, okay. And he does whatever he can do on Twitter. He's made enemies because of us. That's his log line there. And then Adityan, you can please follow Curiouser Adityan. Again, I always post all this in the descriptions, and Adityan's post also on MI will be linking there. So yes, please follow all these lovely people. And on a very different note, just because I think we don't do these sorts of episodes, like we don't do like film news coverage and all. The most heartiest congratulations. I know none of the people will listen to Jafar
Yeah.
Panahi for winning
Oh yeah, yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
listening.
Palme d'Or.
I'm so
Happy.
glad. I guess
More
maybe
than more
So
than
this is
him
glad
more
for
of
winning,
like
him.
a
just
Yeah.
thank
even
you
I
for.
actually, I have
yeah.
no idea about that movie or anything about this. I actually teared up
Yes,
just
Yeah,
exactly.
watching
yeah, I
this. I was
did.
like so
It,
overwhelmed. I'm
it
like,
was more than him winning, I think, the greatest thing
Yeah.
that he's there to receive it. It was lovely to see
Yes,
exactly.
him
That's
yes.
why.
Yeah.
there.
Cathartic, to be honest.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah.
It was
And
great.
yes, so I know that on a Mission Impossible podcast, I probably shouldn't do that, but we don't do separate podcasts for this. We have done an episode on Panahi. If you want to listen to
Yeah,
that, you
yeah.
can. But
Mm.
generally, just one of the loveliest things that happens, and that you don't get like that awful contrarian. No one can be contrarian about this
Mm,
because there is nothing to be contrarian about in this. He is. I mean, we've said this that I think he's the best, probably most important filmmaker living today and working today.
Yes.
So, but anyways, yes. On that note, on the very
Everyone
different,
go home. Everyone go home. Watch Crimson Gold.
watch
mm.
everything he's made. But
Watch
yeah,
everything.
yeah.
It's a fun
Watch
movie. That's
everything. White balloon. White
Oh,
balloon
White
White
Balloon
watching.
is
Balloon.
lovely.
Yeah.
Anyways, yes, on that note, we will return with some other nonsense to talk about, I suppose. I think we will. I know that everyone here is, or most people here are fans of Paul Thomas Anderson. So we will probably end up building up to one battle after another.
Man,
Probably
wait, when is that releasing? It's like
September.
September 16th
September.
or something.
September. Oh,
September.
that's quite a
And
while
the
down for me.
big movies that will come in the summer season, I'm sure people will cover in fits and spurts. Like different people will cover different things. F1
And
and what else
maybe
is
the
coming?
Phoenician scheme as well later this month. I'm watching it next month.
Yeah,
Oh, it's releasing next week. Okay. Why don't
I
you and
have
Hemant
booked for
cover
an
it
early,
like you
I have
covered
booked for an
Anora?
early screening. Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
yeah. I
You and
mean,
Hemant
yeah.
should cover it like you covered
I
Anora. I
don't
think
want to
that's
do. I
What?
don't want to do like a whole filmography thing, but I can. I
No
wanna.
way.
I wanna see
No.
no,
Phoenician Scheme for sure. Yeah.
just Phoenician scheme.
Yeah.
Just that.
Oh yeah, that's easy.
Yeah. Yeah. Just
I know
make
it'll
sure
be
to
a fun
record.
movie. Yes, I will
Oh,
be talking
the
to
Wes
myself.
Oh,
Anderson. Oh, the Wes
yes.
Just
Anderson film. Okay, okay.
yeah. Anyways,
Yeah.
that's it for our MI stuff. Thank you, Varun, for not being here. It was much more civilized and khatam.